Did you just drop a Nicki Minaj line?
Yo, good afternoon. Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Deeper Dive presented by BetMGM. I'm Dave Loughran of Lafayette_D on Twitter, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman, breaking down a 15-game MLB slate. Yeah, 15 games. Man, I was getting spoiled with all the like 640 games. Only have to do 11 on a Tuesday or Friday. But we're back to the 15-game grind, dude. I remember this from years ago when I was doing MLB shows and I hated it.
They're not as fun, that's for sure. I would prefer a couple less games, but what are you going to do? Hey, at least we've got the fun Dodgers game today in Coors. That's totally normal.
Yeah, a modest 7.8 run implied total.
Insanity.
It really is. I saw it this morning. What's that?
Me?
Yeah. You didn't say anything. Yeah, I saw it this morning, and I was like, what is... I mean, yeah, you're going to expect... What I saw was a 12-run actual total in the game, and I go, well, Kershaw's on the mound. That seems odd.
Yeah.
You know?
I ran my stuff this morning, and I was just like, what?
I know. Nuts, man. But, yeah, it's a wild one. Brian said, Laffy pulling out the old rim pack setup. I got relegated to the basement, dude. Got kid number 2 on the way. Man, my life is over.
Yeah,
and
it is, man. It is.
Yeah, but we're here. By the way, how far back do you think the screens are behind me? Like, if you had to take a guess.
I don't know. 22 feet.
That's what I'm saying. Adam said 50, but it's like an optical illusion, man. I think they're probably 14 feet, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because when I finished the basement, I put black drop ceiling in. I think there's some type of illusion going on there. But yeah,
I mean, it looks very long. It does look long.
But
I was like, I don't know, like TVs, like I'm just in the ballpark. 50 is stupid. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's a gigantically long basement.
I know. Yeah, he was like, why haven't you been down there the whole time?
Well, to be fair, that's also true because it does look like a good spot.
Yeah, it's pretty, dude, I'm enjoying it. No sunlight, which is kind of weird.
It's the best, right?
Like I'm in a cave, but I do enjoy it.
That'll be good for when we're banged up in the NBA finals next year.
Oh, dude, it's going to be great. I was already thinking about it, right? That I'm just going to sit like this. I'm just going to kick my legs up here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm going to watch the game like this. And I'll put the mic here and we're just going to shoot the shit.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's going to be sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's the first thing that crossed my mind, dude. So we're on the same page.
We can't get started yet because I have 2 things that I need to hit you with. One is normal. The other one's going to sound not normal, but it is normal in the long run. I promise. I promise.
No, all right, fine. I had a question for you that I wanted to, I'm not doing it yet. Hold on. What I was going to say is I had a question for you. And I actually looked at the schedule to see when you and I were on the strategy show together this week, which we aren't.
Yeah.
So me being a professional was like, I'll hold off because we have 15 games today. You being you, well, let's go.
Well, there's so many games that I just don't give a shit to talk about tonight. So I think it's easier on a day like today.
Let's hear it.
Anyway, okay. So this is coming from yesterday's show with Adam. This is a very generic question. What is the best fast food burger?
Fast food burger? Well, it's tough because I'm on the East Coast, but I'd go Wendy's. I love Wendy's.
Okay. I am going to add a caveat to you here. Places like Five Guys count.
Yeah, I'd go Five Guys. Shit my brains out. But I mean, also wildly overpriced, but Five Guys is definitely up there. I mean, I'd put Five Guys ahead. If Five Guys counts, then I'd probably just put it up there as far as fast food goes. But like I said, on the like In-N-Out burger and stuff, I don't count any of that because I'm on the East Coast.
Okay, that's fair. In-N-Out is my answer. But my question then to you is Five Guys fast food?
No.
Okay, you're wrong too.
No, I'll tell you why.
And if you say fast casual, I quit.
No, I'm not. No, because it doesn't have a drive-through.
Okay. That was a very key piece of our discussion. My Domino's has a drive-through.
Okay, good for you.
Is that fast food?
Can you go? No, because if you were to order it, it's not actually that fast. I mean, they get them in and out pretty quick. Don't get me wrong. I know Domino's, but you would still have to sit there for a while. I think of fast food as I go in, or like I'm just hammered trying to drive and find somewhere to get. It's like late at night or whatever, or any time of the day. I'm in a rush. I need.
Tell me more about your drunk driving.
It was a joke. I need to be in and out, and I hit the drive-through. I order. I pull up to the window within a minute, or less. They've got my food. That's to me.
Okay,
that's what
that doesn't happen at Wendy's or Subway or anything. But anyway, is Subway fast food?
I mean, yeah, but I'm joking about driving hammered. By the way, my God, it's different. It's different kind of fast food.
Okay, that's fair. My second question. I promise you, this is not going the direction it seems. So bear with me, but I need to set the table first. When I looked at Twitter earlier, about an hour ago, I saw trending Jeffrey Epstein. And you click on it, and it's your normal sea of stuff. But it's always like Jeffrey Epstein and a picture of Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein and a picture of Bill Clinton.
It was Jeffrey Epstein eating Five Guys.
He was just like, yo, Five Guys isn't fast food. No.
Five girls is what he okay. Go ahead.
You want to derail this that way, man. I can do it.
Go.
My question to you is this. And if you want to say that we can go all the way up until you're 50 years old or whatever, we can expand the range. Do you think that you've taken a picture with someone that has a very negative criminal charge in their life in some way, whether you know it or not? Maybe you would find out down the line. A murderer, a child bad person, something in that ilk. Do you think you have a picture of it so that if something happened to that person, they'll be like, well, Laffy's garbage?
Well, considering my best friend in childhood is the Bucks County Butcher, yeah, I would say so. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I would say that I have a few pictures of someone who has done some terrible things.
Fair enough. What are the odds for the average person? I bet it's way higher than anyone would ever imagine. The amount of times you're in like a four-way picture of like, kids at college and you find out that some guy
of course. Well, especially now with like iPhones and everything, it's different back then, but yes.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Now it's just like anybody.
And when they're not like in the background or anything, but I just mean I see this picture where it's just like, oh, it's Bill Gates with Jeffrey Epstein and they're, smiling at a thing. And it's like, well, like, we don't know if they were really hanging out or if that was just one picture. Like I have no idea if I've ever taken a picture with like an ultra horrible person.
Yeah, no, but it's happened for sure. I'm sure it's happened. And maybe they haven't been caught yet, but yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when it got 20 years ago, that Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein picture, nobody would have looked at it different.
Yep. We got to talk baseball. We got to do it. Ongo said Bucks County Butcher. I don't know that one. And I'm in PA. Yeah, there's no Bucks County Butcher, dude. He wasn't my best friend. I just thought that had a nice little ring to it.
I mean, you were obviously just not pals with a mass murderer.
But to answer your question, yes, given my escapades back in the day, there's no doubt that I've had, some interactions with people who have done some things.
Yeah, and your own personal selfies don't count.
Right, yeah. 15 games. Happy to have you guys with us. Hammer that thumbs up out of the gate here. Get us up towards 100. Atone for your sins, my friends. Bow down before the YouTube overlords, and let's go. Hit it. Take a second. Look, I'm just here to remind you to do good things in life, and this is one of them. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Goes a long way for us, and we greatly appreciate it. San Diego Padres at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's dive straight into this one. Padres minus 190 in Pittsburgh, pitcher-friendly park. 9-run total. Yu Darvish against Rich Hill. How
are you going to go and get it wrong? We didn't even start anything yet, and you're already incorrect. Great work. The first thing that comes out of your mouth is wrong. Yu Darvish is not playing anymore today.
My fault, dude. I was trying.
Item number 1. The first words that you had to say for this slate, you got wrong. That's some Adam shit right there.
My fault. No, I was trying to record this stupid Evergreen video. And I ran up to the point where I was actually late for this show. So I had put the run sheet together. What's that?
Not late enough.
Yeah, well, good thing you're here. And I'm going to be throwing a lot of these over to you today since we have 15 games to talk about in about an
That's
hour
fine.
to do so. So, let's get into this. Who's starting for the San Diego Padres? Yu Darvish is sick.
Reese Nair is starting for the Padres. He's
All
7,400,
right.
not going deep in this game. It's essentially a bullpen game. So you're not going to Reese Nair, and you're not going to Rich Hill on the opposite side. $6,300 lefty taking on the Pods. He is basically unowned and should be. We got to remember for today, there are 30 offenses. There are essentially 30 pitchers, although some you just legitimately can't roster. Most people are either going to look just totally irrelevant, or they're going to be in this giant bucket of like, yes, they can be in a lineup. Can Rich Hill be in a lineup? Yeah. Should he? Probably not.
What's the total in this game now? 9.5. So it went up a little bit with Darvish getting scratched, not significantly. Do you like Pirates bats? Do you have interest in San Diego bats against, the 70-year-old Rich Hill throwing 75 miles per hour?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to rerun all of my stuff whenever this show ends, because the things that I have now don't look great. I actually have a little bit of the Pirates against Reese Nair in this and like this bullpen-ish game that we're going to end up getting from the Padres. I don't like that at all. I don't like the park for righty power for sure. I don't really like the Pirates in general, but they are number 2 in our top value chart. They're not very highly ranked in top stacks, but 2% and 3% are both frequent occurrences for today, thanks to the Dodgers soaking up so much. So I don't care too much about the top stack odds, but the Pirates are free. They are so ridiculously cheap today. It's insane. Josh Palacios in the leadoff spot, flat 2K outfielder, not the only flat 2K, well, basically flat 2K outfielder that they have. They also have Nick Gonzalez, a flat 2K second baseman, $2,100 Austin Hedges. Like a lot of the guys that I'm naming, I mean, Palacios is solid, but there's not a lot of talent on this Pirates team right now, but they are incredibly cheap. They've got 2 guys that have MPEs in the lineup. I like the flexibility that you can get if you want to, say, pay up for Shohei Ohtani and Kevin Gossman and a couple good one-off type hitters, because you can roster whatever you want once you get to the Pirates. Is this exciting? No, but they are a really good value stack, and I have my eye on that at least a little bit right now at essentially no ownership.
I get it. Now, in the next game, you got Andrew Abbott, you have Tyler Wells. Kind of an interesting spot here. Adam and I were talking about it this morning. There's no doubt that Camden Yards is going to suppress right-handed power. So Abbott has a little bit of an advantage there, but coming off a 10 strikeout game against the Colorado Rockies, I remember you and myself doing a show on that last time we had one. Baltimore 21.8% K rate against lefties, middle of the road, 12% walk rate, highest in the league. So this has been one of those teams that is still pretty good in this respect. Not a ton of power that they've posed against lefties. Some of that may be the park at home. But do you have any interest in Wells or in Abbott today on either side?
I have a lot of interest in Wells, which kind of surprises me because I don't normally get him on other slates, but I think this matchup against the Reds looks pretty good, especially in Baltimore. Solid enough pitcher's park. Wells, I've got go. I'll say this. I'm a lot higher on Wells than we are as a site, but he's 8,400. He's 20% owned. That's exactly what I have right now. I like this strikeout matchup today against the Reds, and I think that's mildly appealing. I'm not getting to Abbott at 8,600. I had him in like 90% of lineups for his last start. That worked out really well. For today, though, up against the Orioles in this spot, don't see a lot that I want from Abbott. There are other guys in this mid-tier, including Wells himself, who's $200 cheaper. I would just rather have Wells than Abbott, and that's enough for me to sort of just never really get to Abbott. But Wells, yeah, I don't really see any reason why I wouldn't want to get to him. Maybe because Adam's going to the game, and I would like to cheer against things for him. That would be the only reason that I wouldn't want to play Wells. But if you just look at his stats, not the most success against righties, does give up a little bit of pop. That gets limited a little bit in Baltimore, 95 park factor for right-handed power, but can rack up some strikeouts against lefties. 153 xISO is fine. 263 x WOBA to lefties over the past 2 seasons. To me, that's what stands out. It just doesn't really get touched up all that much, generates a lot of swinging strikes. And there's quite a few lefty bats in the Orioles lineup today. I think that plays really well for Wells.
How about stacking either side of this one? Right now, Baltimore Orioles, 3% ownership, stack ownership in our top stacks tool. So, nothing crazy there. On the other side of this one, Cincinnati, not getting a whole lot of love either. Where are they at as far as top stack goes?
19.
Yeah, 19. So 0.6% ownership. There's not a lot happening here. It's mostly ownership going to Wells at 22%, and the rest of this game going largely ignored. Also, it does have a 9-run total, but there are 15 games, or sorry, an 8.5-run total. There are a lot of games with high totals, and we haven't talked about Coors or some of these other 9.5s out there yet.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add here. Value on the Baltimore side is totally fine. You get Rutschman at catcher in the second spot. Always going to look good there. But we have the Orioles 6th in stack score. I think that's probably overvaluing their value for today. I just don't think that's as important on this kind of slate. They're 11th in top stack. There are individual bats that you can get to on either side. But to me, this isn't the game where you're searching for offense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the San Francisco-Toronto game also, you're not going to be loading up on San Francisco bats against Kevin Gausman. We know that. I mean, the guy's been fantastic. San Francisco, very good against righties. There's no denying that. Also, relatively high strikeout team. So this is one of these teams, you could mow them down if you're Gausman, or who knows, or they touch him up a little bit. They have performed well against righties. There are some strikeouts in this active roster, but you're not going to be going to them heavy. And then on the other side, looks like Walker is the opener. And then the probable long relief here is probably Alex Wood from what we're seeing, but I haven't seen any confirmation on that yet. So you can't really be looking to target or to play pitchers from the San Francisco side.
No, not so much. I'm not going to Walker or anything else that's going to show up. I am going to Kevin Gausman pretty aggressively. $11K, $300 cheaper than Shohei Ohtani. He's 25% owned. I'm doubling up that number. 27% K rate to lefties over the past 3 seasons, 31% to righties over the past 2 seasons. I mean, this guy he's elite. I don't have much else to say here. We all know it already. And it is a pretty solid strikeout matchup against the Giants. They're not a bad team. They've got enough pop today that it's not necessarily the most fun. And the park does play up righty power a little bit. Unfortunately for the Giants, 139 x ISO over the past 2 seasons for Kevin Gausman. They're going to need to square something up pretty real today to try to take him yard. I like the Gausman side the most of anything in this game.
How much Gausman do you want to get to on a night where we've got, first of all, you have Shohei Ohtani against the White Sox, right? We just saw Reed Detmers absolutely tear through that. Him and Dylan Cease with a pitching clinic on both sides of that one. You have Ohtani similarly priced to Kevin Gausman, getting similar ownership as well. And then, you've got a 10K Framber Valdez. He's not getting a lot of ownership. Joe Ryan at 10.8 is essentially unplayable against that Atlanta team. It's really the 2 top dogs at that 11K range that are vying for ownership between Ohtani and Gausman today. Yeah,
and I see Ohtani and Gausman as very equal, and I'm getting them in a very equal manner. I was getting to a lot of Yu Darvish prior to him getting scratched. Spoiler, by the way, Yu Darvish not playing tonight. So I'm doubling up the ownership of Kevin Gausman right now. 26% owned. I have 54.
Okay.
I have 50% of. Well, I have 50% of Ohtani, 50% of Gausman. Now, I certainly have lineups where I have them both, but I'm basically getting one of them in everything.
Do you like bats here for the Toronto side? My assumption you're not getting to a ton of San Francisco. Anything you like from the right side of the plate, maybe against Alex Wood, who has struggled in a couple of his last 3 appearances?
I mean, there are certainly bats that I like. I'm not exactly getting to a lot of them. If you want to go to Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, any of those 3 names, Matt Chapman, Varsho, Danny Jansen, there's a ton of righty power, or just power in general, in this Blue Jays lineup. However, this is a big slate, and no matter what we think of the Blue Jays, and this is a good team, but this isn't the biggest implied total on today's slate. It's good, There's nothing wrong with it. It's certainly one of the better offensive environments. But we have them 13th in top stack. I'm a little bit more optimistic, but not necessarily from like a percentage point standpoint. We have it at like 2.5. I got it at like 3.5. We're quibbling over how much that actually matters. So I do like the Toronto side a little bit. They're not a team I'm stacking up all that much. I have 4 5-man stacks in my 150. So not a giant stand.
Are there some ways to get different on this slate? Because I'm just looking through the lineup generator right now. I went in and I didn't lock anybody in, and I just did 5x stacks. So 5 player stacks, and then the other 3 batters can be whatever from many teams. It could be a 5-2-1, a 5-3, whatever. And then ran all lineups. Looking at them now, seeing a lot of Gossman and Dodger stacks, as it should be, by the way, just running through these lineups. But you're going to get a lot of that, and you're also going to have a lot of Brian Wu in those lineups as well. Lineup generator, $4.48 for your first week, by the way. I'll show you a couple screenshots in a second that prove that the lineup generator works. But just pulling through this right now, where you're seeing what the optimal projection is, you're seeing how chalky or contrarian a lot of these are, and many of them are relatively chalky. Any ways, other than, of course, going through the lineup generator and finding some of these contrarian spots that you still really like, any ways you think that makes sense to get a little different on a night like tonight?
I think there are a lot of spots. I don't necessarily see it as much on the pitching side, but I think it's so easy to find a stack today that isn't getting all that much ownership and make it your stack. And there are so many that look very similar today that, like, if you told me that you like the Blue Jays as a team that's pulling no ownership, I would never talk anybody out of that. Here are the projected ISOs for some of the guys in the Blue Jays lineup for today. This is via Steamer. 195, 188, 170, 230, 195, 195, 205. There's a ton of power that you can just go to on Toronto at no ownership. Would it be that shocking? It's a 3% outcome. 1 out of every 30 times that you see the Blue Jays today. They're the highest scoring stack. No part of that's surprising. They have massive power. You don't have to compete with anybody on this. The highest owned guy is Danny Jansen at 4%. Everybody else is 2 or below. So there are plenty of ways to get different. I think the pitching is the stuff where there's not a lot of deviation to me.
Exactly. And that's what you're going to, which is funny on a 15-game slate. You just have like 20 pitchers that aren't getting any ownership at all. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I was just going through the lineup generator now, and don't get me wrong, I look at these lineups and I absolutely love them, to be clear.
Oh, yeah.
That's not always a good thing, but like Ohtani, Peterson with a 5-man Dodger stack. And some of these filler pieces look great too. Try it out for yourself. It's $4.48 for the week. Take Michael Pavlik in chat right now. Take his word. Lineup generator pays for itself each week. These aren't paid endorsements. These are just our friends that watch the show. Malachor, shout out to you. I saw that $1,000 win. Can't wait to use it. Malachor, yes, lineup generator is included in the free week. But Josh, I mean, it's giving you the optimal projections. It's giving you the ownership. You can make tweaks, lock players. You can upload everything to CSV. No brainer at $4.48 a week.
It's the easiest tool to like get behind that we have. We'll talk about the Sims a lot, and I love it as the highest end product that we have. But if we're talking about the tool that is easiest to get into at the lowest price point that provides the most sort of bang for your buck, it's so clearly the lineup generator. It's not even funny. You're basically getting the bones of the Sims tool, only there's a little bit more detail held out of it, but the product that's coming out is very comparable, and you're getting it at essentially no money, like at the cost of a coffee.
Yeah, right? You make far worse decisions spending $4.50 over the course of a week. Even if you're playing $2 a day, it has the potential to not just pay for itself, but set you up in a big way. Like Lyle Peel took this down with the lineup generator. First takedown ever, 10K, Josh. This is just last week, by the way. I'm not pulling these from 3 months ago. Right. Ryan Carter took down the relay throw tonight. Single bullet. You all are the best site out there, in my opinion. 50K for Ryan, 10K for Lyle. Man, what more needs to be said? Link in the description and in chat. 448 for the first week. Don't be silly. All right. Anything else you want to get to for this game? No,
the Giants are the same side. Like, I have a ton of Kevin Gossman. There's no way that I'm advocating for the Giants today.
Milwaukee plus 125 at the Mets, 9-run total. Julio Teheran at David Peterson. Hey, listen, Teheran's been good. It's just the fantasy upside isn't there. Like, he's not allowing a ton of hard contact. not a ton of deep fly balls, hard hit balls, but he's not missing bats either. So, that's one thing. Peterson, on the other hand, not very expensive, good strikeout matchup. That is pretty interesting for the lefty.
Yeah, I'm getting to quite a bit of David Peterson right now. 24% owned. I have 25%. 6,600 is a really appealing price tag. Great park to at least limit scoring. It is at the very least a pitcher's park. Decent strikeout matchup against the Brewers. Peterson over the past 2 seasons, 26% K rate to righties. He's going to see all but one righty today, but still 26% K rate to righties over those 2 years. If lefties do show up, it's either a strikeout or a home run. He gives up massive power, but he does K 29% of lefties. But the only lefty in the lineup right now is Christian Yelich. So get through that and you should be okay. So I'm happy to get the Peterson as value. I have no interest in going to Julio Teheran, however. The bigger issue for this game is whether or not it happens. Weather is important here. It's going to be very up in the air up until first pitch. For right now, I have it in, but it is something that I'm paying attention to because it's the only game on the slate that I'm pretty nervous about.
How nervous?
You looking for like a percentage?
I'm saying like to the point where you're going to be underweight on certain players as a result.
The way that this is going right now, I'm either treating it like it's all the way in and I'll do nothing, or I'll treat it like it's all the way out and I'll.
That's what I was asking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So right now, all the way in, but there are no half measures for me today.
Okay. And congrats, Sean. I just saw that. It's always built my own lineups. Used the lineup generator for some 20 max last couple of days. 2 top 10 finishes in the $4 on DK. It's actually insane when you think about it, but how difficult that tournament is. How about bats on either side? I mean, we talked about Peterson, but are there any other spots as far as hitters go that you want to look at in this game?
Yeah, that's what's the problem here for me, unfortunately.
You have a lot of it?
I've got the Mets. I like the Mets side of this one quite a bit. And it's mostly because I have no respect for Julio Teheran, even though he has been good good enough since he's been back. He hasn't gotten touched up or anything crazy. But he doesn't stop people from making contact. And I think that catches up with him at some point in time. So I do have quite a bit of Mets stacks. They are my most exposed 5-man right now. We could have a bigger conversation later on. They're not pulling all that much ownership. They're 9th overall, 4% in the aggregate. Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, all 7%. Everybody else is 3 or lower. This is the first spot that I'm getting to with any sort of volume. I did have some Pirates earlier. I think that's just a function of value. That wouldn't be a team that I'd be like, hey, you should look at the Pirates. The Mets, I think, are a little bit different. I'm a lot higher on the Mets than we are. I have them as my number 6 overall stack and the number 5 value stack. Other than not having an MPE, you're hitting short, first, second in 3, 4, 5. I love that kind of outlay for choosing parts of a stack. So the Mets are playing a big role for me. At 6:45, that might change completely if the weather report has changed. That's 90 minutes from now. Who the hell knows what happens?
Man, the Miami and Boston game too, 9.5 run total here. You've got a 5-run implied total for Miami, 5.1 run implied total for the Boston Red Sox. Sandy Alcantara on one side, Garrett Whitlock on the other side. I mean, neither of these guys right now are going to be particularly popular. We have Yeah. Okay. So we have both of these guys on the tool, on the top pitchers tool. Garrett Whitlock, 1.6% ownership right now, slight leverage, 5.9% top 2 probability. And then Sandy Alcantara at 3% or 1% ownership, 4%. So both of them have slight positive leverage, but Alcantara has really struggled, man. Garrett Whitlock has a 21% K rate against the Miami team that doesn't strike out at a high clip. Doesn't look like the best pitching matchup for DFS purposes on either side.
No, it doesn't. Whitlock, not on the board for me at all. I have a stray lineup, but he's not one of the... I have 5 guys in double digits. He's not one of those guys. I don't have any shares of Sandy, even at 7,900. Matchup against the Red Sox, not really what I'm looking for. And he just hasn't been as good. You know, it's a little bit more power across the board, not necessarily going as deep as he had been over the past year or two. So I don't see this. Like, I think Whitlock and Sandy are both like quality, actual real life pitchers, sort of in that like Marcus Stroman mold where they rarely look exceptional, but in this case, like they do limit just overall run scoring. I don't love these guys for fantasy, but I like them in general.
Okay. Do you like bats?
Marginally, probably like as much as the field does. This is mostly a stay away. The most I have of anybody as of right now is 5% David Hamilton. I don't even know what a David Hamilton is, but he is my most exposed player in this game. I just have like a scattered amount. I'm basically using both teams as like randomized 3-mans and less for every other lineup. I have a very minuscule amount of 5-mans of the Red Sox and Marlins. I'm advocating for neither team. I'm lower on both teams than we are. I think it's just like a meh spot across the board. And I think a lot of it has to do with the pitching. I don't really want to attack either pitcher.
And honestly, Alcantara hasn't been good, but he has a 140 X ISO against lefties, 134 against righties. Those aren't exactly numbers of a guy that's struggling. 0.75 home runs per 9. So from a power perspective alone, it's not like he's going out there and just giving up 3 homers in the first 4 innings of every game.
No, it's a very marginal difference than what it was. It was 103 X ISO to righties last year, 127 to lefties. So it's just that like semi-incremental jump up.
But
he hasn't become a gas can.
That's close to elite when you're talking about last year's numbers. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So taking that step back, marginal or even semi-significant, it's still, you're not looking at a guy and being like, okay, this is Connor Siebel.
Exactly. We'll get to him later. My most exposed pitcher.
Oh, he should be. We have him as the #1 pitcher in the top pitchers tool tonight.
It's like Stableford scoring in golf, right? You want big numbers. Yeah. Well, I'm going the other way. I want the biggest negative that I can get.
I'm joking, by the way. He is not our #1 pitcher. He's #2. How about honestly, man, there might be another world and another slate and another day where, you know, Joe Ryan against Atlanta is somewhat viable, but at this price point, in this matchup, with the other guys similarly priced to him on this slate, good luck getting to that. It's just, and he has a 27% K rate, by the way, this season. It's just, he's almost $11,000 against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I don't know how you justify it. Like, he's talented, obviously.
Oh, he's very good.
But I don't, like, it's the Braves, man. It's not that great of a strikeout matchup to begin with. It's the best offense, the second best offense, the third best, one of the best offenses in baseball. You're just going to find better places to take Joe Ryan. I just don't see the value in pivoting. Is he going to outscore some of these guys? Like, every once in a while, Joe Ryan is just going to mow through the Braves. That'll just happen. I don't want to pay to find out if he does it.
The problem is that even if you were to make that argument, Gausman still has a better matchup, is basically the same price, and has a 32% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani has a better matchup. Yes, they're getting a lot more ownership, but like you said, maybe the way to get different on tonight's slate isn't with pitching and it's with hitting. It doesn't always have to be going with a less than 1% owned pitcher, no less, that you're paying $11,000 for.
Yeah, like, I wish Joe Ryan was just priced a little bit lower, because I'd have some interest, because he does strike out righties at a crazy clip. Maybe he has the ability to neutralize some of this heavy power at the top of the lineup, but I don't want to find out at all.
Yeah, if he was like 9,300 or something, then you go, okay, you're getting a big discount.
Yeah,
he's the same price as Gausman.
Yeah. And I have the gap between them quite large.
Right. Any interest in Bryce Elder on the other side of this one?
No, not really. I don't have any shares. He's 9,200. It's a good strikeout matchup against the Twins. I'll give him that. Like, the problem is that strikeout matchups aren't generally great for Bryce Elder. 18.5% K rate over the past 2 seasons, 22.5 to righties. He's just like an average pitcher, and that's not going to cut it today.
All right. Well, with that in mind, is there any interest whatsoever in bats? I mean, Minnesota doesn't profile well in the top stacks tool. 3.1 stack score is in the mix of like 50 other teams today, because there's a steep drop off from the Dodgers and the Dodgers. And I mean, seriously, there's a drop off from the Dodgers at 13.3 stack score to the Cleveland Guardians at 5.2. Dude, I got it this morning too.
You almost didn't know. You tried to not get it.
Well, today on the show is like the Cleveland Guardians. But dude, everyone, it's just a sea of like 2, 3, 4 stack scores. And then there's the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's insane, dude. It's so insane. I can't remember a team separating from the pack like this on a given slate.
No, not even at Coors like this.
No.
So
like normally there's just like one other straggler team that's like got a good spot, but like we don't even have that. Like the Reds aren't at home, so we don't have the pseudo Coors type situation. It's just different. It's very different.
Do we fade bats here?
Which game?
Atlanta, Minnesota.
Oh, I thought we were done with that game. I thought you had led me into another game and I wasn't ready for it.
No, I was actually using that to lead us out of it, just in the sense of like, hey, neither of these teams look profile great in any of our tools.
The Braves are ultra talented. I will always have mild interest in the highest echelon of talent, but I don't want to target against Joe Ryan. And I think the Twins are less talented. I think Bryce Elder's fine. I don't see it. The most exposed guy I have in this game is Ronald Acuna at 3%. I don't have anything else to add for this game.
Neil said he Googled the Bucks County Butcher before learning it's not a real thing. Yeah, I had a feeling so. Wait, you knew I was joking, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't even acknowledge it.
I know. I was kind of upset about that.
We would have talked about it so much in the past that it wouldn't have been. You wouldn't have been like, oh no, man, I grew up with this dude that is just like straight up murderer. So I kind of did.
We don't have time for this. Wait for a strategy show, man.
20 seconds. One of my best friends growing up until middle school, when they finally moved, his mom took her own life.
What town did you grow up in again?
That's not important right now.
It is. Just tell me.
Tamaqua.
Okay.
His mom killed herself when we were in middle school, which was rough. Ultimately, his older brother, too much onto the drugs, beat his dad to death with a baseball bat at his dad's house and is now in jail for it. I hung out in this dude's room. He's 3 years older than me. I knew him for all of the formative years of my life until he went down the clear wrong path.
I was trying to think of some alliteration for kind of infamous name that we could give him, but I couldn't think of it. All I could think of was the Tamaqua Thumper, but that doesn't work too well.
So I certainly am in a picture with him somewhere at some point in time, probably in their pool. And he grew up to be a not good dude.
Oh,
not good dude.
Are you still in contact?
With my friend in this scenario? Not really.
Yeah. No.
He moved once we were in middle school and stuff. His dad remarried. So we sort of lost touch. He didn't really make the best decisions in his life either, but not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's a chilling story for sure.
Yeah. I forget that happened. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago now.
Oh, it was recent.
Oh yeah.
Oof. All right. So you do have one. How about
I didn't think about that until right now. He was apprehended on June 23rd, 2017. So he got 25 to 49 years.
Do you send him letters?
No, I don't send him letters.
I don't know, man.
No, not so much. They might not give him letters.
Oh, dude, I'm trying to think of a name for it, and I just can't think of something. I can't think of something good. I'm really disappointed.
His name is alliterative with M's. So there's probably something there, but I'm in no position.
What county did you grow up in?
Schuylkill.
Okay. Yeah, the Schuylkill Slugger. I mean, that's
not bad. That's not bad.
The old Schuylkill Slugger out there. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals. Framber Valdez, Jordan Montgomery, 2 lefties on the bump today. 8-run total here. Hard to get to Valdez, right? In this spot.
I don't. I have 10,100. Look, he's liable to go ultra deep in this game, but not for me. I don't have. I think it's hard to get to Montgomery too, just because the Astros don't strike out and they're incredibly talented. Great individual pitchers. I just don't know how you justify it. I don't see enough upside in Valdez to make that run, but he's really good.
Yeah, he's very good. Coming off another monster game, but it is kind of tough to get the pitching in this one. I mean, Montgomery being another one of those guys where he is getting what 3% or 3% right now. Solid pitcher, 7,200. But I think there's a couple other mid-range pitchers at a similar price point that once we get to them shortly, we're just going to like more than this.
Yeah, I have a few that we will certainly be talking about. And like, these are the types of guys where if I had a couple shares of Valdez or if I had a couple lineups that actually did have Jordan Montgomery, like that wouldn't set off alarm bells in my head. If I have Ryan Walker or Jake Irvin or something like that, then I'm just like, should that be happening? But I don't mind if these two guys show up. I just don't think it's going to happen all that frequently.
Do you like bats on either side? I mean, it's a tough spot to get to bats and feel good about it. There's 15 games.
Yeah, I don't want to target bats against Valdez. He's really good. 0.098 x ISO to lefties. That's under 100. That's nuts. It's 120 to righties. It's not much better. Yep. And Montgomery's skilled too. If you're going to get to any side, it's very clearly the Astros side, but there are no priorities in this game.
And it's got to be
this is actually probably the hardest game to get to in general.
It's got to be Astros righties too. I mean, Montgomery's giving up no power to lefties whatsoever. And you see that often with left-handed pitching. 185 x ISO to righties. Again, that's not great, but it's also not, jaw-droppingly bad to the point where you're like, man, I got to load up on right-handed Astros bats. You're right. It is probably the toughest game to get to really anything. What about Detroit and Texas? 9.5 run total. Detroit coming off a nice little road win against the Rangers, an unexpected one yesterday. Matt Manning, Martin Perez, Detroit plus 165 in this money line away from home. Is there any pitching today, just given that Martin Perez is actually getting almost 10% ownership?
No, not to me. I have 3% of Perez at 5,700. Clearly a good spot against the Tigers. 18% K rate to lefties this year for Perez. 14.8 to righties. Don't forget about the 174 x ISO. He's a good value because 5,700 is hella cheap and the Tigers aren't very good, but I'm good. Like I'd prefer if he didn't show up, put it that way.
Okay. How about Texas bats against Manning here?
How about Tigers bats against Perez here?
Yeah.
Look, they're in the same boat as the Pirates for me. These are the cheap guys that allow you to get to a lot more of Ohtani and Gausman, and it allows me to get to very powerful filler stacks for the rest of my lineup. If that's coming from the Dodgers, so be it. So I actually am getting to a little bit of the Tigers because they're so cheap. $3,600 Javi Baez, $3,200 Spencer Torkelson. Everybody else is $2,900 or below. You've got two MPEs in the lineup. I don't mind the value side with the Tigers. It sucks, but it's different today. Do I mind getting to Texas? No. Number 3 in top stack. They're number 2 in my top stack. I have some chunks of the Texas Rangers. Jonah Heim is my most exposed Rangers bat. I like the idea of getting to some Texas. There is a massive ceiling here. The run total looks great, and Matt Manning's not anything special, nor is anything else that's going to be coming out there for the Tigers. The Rangers upside is certainly higher than the Tigers upside, but the Rangers are hella expensive at the top, 5,700, 6K, 53 for Adolis Garcia. It's a completely different matchup on the opposite side. I'm hoping Perez is just cooked, that he can't strike anybody out, that he's given up a bunch of power to righties. Remember, I said 174 x ISO to righties. Have you seen the Tigers lineup today?
Pulling it up right now.
So we don't officially have it yet, but the expected lineup is 9 righties. I'm going to take my chances there.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, 9 righties. You're right. So, not even any switch hitting bats, just straight righties down the line. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about Philly and Chicago. Philly minus 125, 8.5 run total. Rangers Suarez pitching really well. We'll talk about him. It was going to be Jamison Taillon, but looks like they made a switch to Michael Marchuk. Is that
well played?
Is that
you said it, and I was just like, wait, I still have Taillon. Is he getting me with the reverse joke? And then I looked at it, I was like, well, that's not the case at all.
Came up a bit younger as a power hitter, but transitioned to a pitcher.
I didn't say anything about him transitioning
in the Schuylkill Penitentiary.
Yeah, he probably transitioned into a catcher if I had to guess.
Well done.
Yeah.
What what is the prison around you? Like, what's the state pen around that way?
Whatever one was probably around you. How many do we have?
I'm assuming there's a decent amount.
I don't know anything about them.
It's not
State
Michael
State
March.
College? I don't know.
It is.
I legitimately have no idea.
It is Jameson Tyon, by the way. But Ranger Suarez has been good lately, pitching deep in the games. Adam brought this one point up too. Like we were digging deep into this on the strategy show today, and just the fact that he's striking guys out at a decent clip, all of that going deep, averaging north of 100 pitches per start over he's thrown 99 plus pitches in 5 straight starts. He's gone 6+ innings in all 5 of them. Mind you, he didn't, his first start this year was mid-May, so it took him a little time. But Adam pointed out how difficult his matchups have been too. Atlanta, Arizona, Dodgers, Washington's an easy one, but Mets, Arizona, Cubs, Colorado, but in Coors Field for his first start of the year. That's a tough string of matchups, and he's really performed well.
Yeah, look, he's good. He projects really well. Not the biggest strikeout stuff in the world, but enough. I wish I were more interested. I have 3%. He's getting 9% ownership. He was 6% top 2 pitcher, 9% top 2 value. That seems about right. That's basically where I have him. He's just a guy, but he's one of the guys that are like totally reasonable to get to today.
Yeah, he is.
I just don't have a lot of like I can't like hitch my wagon to Ranger Suarez today. But if somebody was just like, oh, he's 8% owned, I have 16. I don't think that's a crazy play at all.
Right. Because he's cheap too. He's $7,000. You're not paying a premium for him. But yeah, he's kind of another one of those guys in that range. And also, if you are playing Ranger Suarez, that means that you are foregoing some of these other more popular options there. He's getting 6%. I guess let me ask you this then. Given his price point comparison to Peterson and Wu, and the ownership discrepancy, do you think that might be a reason to get more of him, or again, just be different with hitters?
I mean, it does help that those two guys are pulling such sizable ownership at the exact same price point. I do if you're making a single entry lineup and you're like, okay, I got Gossman and Peterson. Is pivoting Peterson to Suarez to be a little bit different a bad idea? I don't think so. Not at all.
Our friend News God El Negro Logo just sent me something that talking about poor air quality in Chicago, and it could potentially affect the game. So I can't read it all right now. I don't know what it's actually saying outside of poor air quality could affect the game, but I don't know how, in the sense that do they mean postponement or whatnot? Just, I don't know. Keep it in mind.
But right now it's, I can't imagine anything happens that would take the way that I'm looking at it right now, that would take that game out by 7:00 for me.
Do you have any interest in Tyon or in bats from either side of this game?
No, I have legitimately none of the Cubs. Straight 0 across the board, Tyon and all of the hitters. And
wind blowing in at 10 miles per hour too.
Yeah, I do like the Phillies side a little bit. They're hella expensive, but certainly a ton of upside. I have them as my number 5 stack overall. I don't really have much. Kyle Schwarber, I think, stands out pretty well as a perfect one-off. You're getting the leadoff spot. You're getting potential, power potential, at least out of Schwarber. The other guy that I'm getting to is Bryce Harper. Otherwise, I'm not getting to anything really from Philly. So this is another game where I just don't have it. And that's going to happen. Look, it's a 15-game slate. There's 30 teams. There are going to be a lot of teams where you're just like, I don't have any part of it.
We had a question in chat from Timmy Slim. When using lineup generator, what does the red frame around the lineup mean?
My first guess is that somebody is out or something negative.
Yeah, I don't. Hold on, let me see something.
But are you pulling it up to do that?
Yeah. I haven't seen red frames around lineups. I just did 60 lineups and I don't see anything with red frames around them.
The stupid Guardians logo came up and I was like, oh, there's some red.
Yeah, I just ran another. There's 80 lineups I just did.
I just keep clicking discard
Me too.
and
I don't see anything. I
no.
wasn't sure if we like added a feature or something.
Around
Yeah.
the whole lineup?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I thought he was talking about when you're generating lineups. Got you. Yeah, if you swap a player and he's too expensive. Yes. Okay. I've never actually done that where I've swapped a player. He's talking about, I guess, at the top where it highlights that, because that's not around the lineup though.
Yeah, I don't see it any other way.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep moving here. Talk about Cleveland and Kansas City. Get into Cleveland and Kansas City a little bit. The fact that the Cleveland Guardians, Josh.
Congratulations for finally becoming like a good person.
I'll lose it.
I become the Bucks County Butcher.
Would be hilarious though if I was just calling them like the Guardians and the Redskins just as a like, hey, screw this. I'm never not calling them that. When really I just forgot.
I mean, I would absolutely be doing that if I didn't work here. Like if this was just my Patreon, I would never change it.
For me, it's the bigger fish to fry out there. You know what I mean?
I just like, it's my youth. I don't look at like.
Oh yeah, to me, they're still the Redskins, of course. Yeah. Like that's how you're always going to see them.
Right. Yeah, it's just ingrained in my body.
But I mean, if they're technically the this or that now, that's fine. That's what they're called.
I would be much more likely to not do it if someone with their heritage actually had the problem and not just people that look like me.
What heritage?
Anyone of the Native American descent.
I thought we don't call them that. Oh no, we don't call it.
I'm right. You're wrong. You want to call them the bad word.
It's not a bad word. My God. And then the best is people, when you did this last time, people took to Twitter to be like, yo, Josh is so soft. He's no
clue.
No clue at all.
I'm close enough to get one. You know how those parents will get jerseys made if like both their kids play and it'll be like split down the center, one team, half the other. I'm ready to get a half Washington and half Cleveland one, like old school throwback.
It's almost as bad as putting your own last name on the back of a pro sports team jersey. To me, that's the biggest violation in the world.
Unless I said there's funny number. If I did Engleman 69 or Engleman 420, that's a different jersey.
It's so corny, dude. If you did that, I would not go to a game with you. And I say there's
no, if it was like Engleman 7 or something like that.
No, Engleman 69 is just as bad, dude.
Engleman 69. Engleman 69 is good.
It's
good
not.
Enough. It's a different kind of jersey at that point.
Yeah, a horrible one. I can't use the words, but Cleveland 11% ownership in the top stack tool. Pretty big negative leverage here. Only 5% top stack probability. By the way, all of our tools 50% off, not just the lineup generator. So if you're looking to get in on like MLB weekly or monthly, top stack, top pitchers tool, top hitters tool, ownership, player projections, you get the MLB lineup generator with it as well, plus the PGA lineup generator, all the MMA tools, PGA, everything. You might think it's the dog days of summer, but we got a ton of sports going, NASCAR and tools for all of that. So link to that in the description as well. If you want to get in on all of these tools, 50% off the week, month, one sport, every sport, however you want to play it. You can find that right down there or in chat. But what do you make of these Cleveland stacks today, dude?
I don't have any. I can tell you that much. Number 2 in ownership, 4th in our top stack tool, 4th in top value. I'm a little lower than that, but I do think this is one of the better options that you can get to. I don't like targeting against Brady Singer all that much. He's not like a guy that I really care about, but boy, oh boy, is he giving up the power this season. Whew. 240 x ISO to lefties this season, 157 to righties is still like not a lot to write home about. If you add in last year, it's still 216 to lefties. So Loughran, not the type of lefty bat that's really going to hurt you from a power perspective. You're going to get Jose Ramirez, who looks exceptional today. He's 19% owned, though. So I like him, but I don't like him. I think you guys can understand the scenario there. Clearly, probably a cash game play, depending on what's getting filled from the 5 guys you use from the Dodgers. Josh Naylor in particular, though, $3,900 first baseman. Or if you want to go to Josh Bell as a $2,800 first baseman, those are two ways that I think you could buy a really cheap homer. The problem is lefty park factor for home runs in Kansas City is 91. Very tough place to hit for power. So Singer gets offset by that a little bit. I understand completely why Cleveland is pulling some ownership, and Jose Ramirez in particular. On a day like today, playing a large field GPP, I'm just going to be somewhere else by default.
Okay, that's fair enough. Jordan Humboldt asked if you could put the lineup generator link in chat. Can you do that? Throw that in there for him and just tag him. Dodgers in Colorado. Here we go. I'm not even sure how much time we need to spend on this one because it's so insane. But 7.7 now implied run total for the Dodgers. This game has an 11.5 total, 12 in some spots. And this is a Rockies team, man. Amazingly, they've been terrible even at home. I was pointing it out to Adam this morning. They still have I think the 5th highest strikeout rate on their active roster at home in a place that wildly suppresses strikeouts. So, I mean, you got Clayton Kershaw on the mound. And then on the other side, it's Connor Siebold, 7.7 implied run total for the Dodgers. They are popular, but our top stack tools suggest right now that they're still not popular enough.
Yeah, this is the most wild scenario that we've seen in a long time. If anybody tells you they're not the top stack today, you immediately know who you don't have to listen to, because this is tops by many multiples. I mean, you could add up the next few teams and they still don't have the same aggregate top stack odds as the Dodgers. You'll go pretty far down that list too. That said, they are pulling massive ownership. 18.5% in the aggregate the last time that I grabbed it. Call it 20 if you want to be realistic here. 1 out of every 5. I am not going to have a 5-man Dodgers stack today. Just not going to have it. They are going to fill out lineups as 3-mans and 2-mans and one-offs. I'm willing to go that direction, but I will not have them as a 5-man stack today. I don't begrudge anybody to do that. This is the best situation you're going to see. There should be a ton of offense, and by the time this series is over, you're probably going to see it at some point in time where the Dodgers just go insane. The expectation is a lot of runs. It's the highest environment on today's slate. I'm going to try and be as muted as possible with major stacks, but I'm still getting to Betts, to Freeman, to Smith. If Max Muncy is playing today at third at 5,200, I'm going to have a bunch of him, but I'm not going to have as much of the bottom of the order. If those guys are already pulling 20%, I'd rather just double up on the stars and sprinkle Betts and Freeman and Smith into other 5-man stacks and hope for the best than be like, oh, well, I should probably get more James Outman, who's 15% owned in the 9-hole.
Man, there's just even the relievers though for Colorado are terrible.
Here's one for you right now. I have just under the field of Dodgers ownership, but I don't have them in a single 5-man or 4-man stack. So they're filling out a lot of my lineups. Like they're basically in everything that I'm doing, but in a smaller way. So if they
It's
go
not going 5,
like if the Dodgers go for 6 runs or 7 runs, they hit one of those like mid-tier performances, then 2 or 3 of these guys probably had a good day, not the whole damn team.
I don't think it's a crazy take. You're not saying to fade the Dodgers.
No. Well, like there's going to be one of these days in this series, likely, where they go for like 11, 12, and you're like, well, shit. This is the type of day that you can kind of avoid that on, though, where you want the best pieces from it, but maybe not necessarily all of it, because the chances of another team scoring 10+ runs today is very high.
What do you think the chances of us getting to 200 likes are? We've got over 800 people watching with 129 likes.
I wish I had a gimmick that I could make people hit it for, but I mean, we're going to get to 200 by default. That won't be an issue at all. I know everybody's going to hit that like button. They could have used it on the poll we had yesterday, where the question was simply, who do you guys like more, me or Adam? I was under the impression the answer was going to be me, but I did not win that poll.
What were was it lopsided or was it close?
It's like 51-49 or something.
Oh, okay.
Great math, dummy. That's 90%.
No,
You're trying to poke the bear on that one. You're not even getting the math right.
So probably 67 to 33.
It's a rounding error.
All right. So, I mean, you had some people get in there for you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys must be doing like metric math or something. I saw it differently.
51 to 49.
Yeah, you guys are translating that into kilometers or something.
Well, we're 27 likes away from 200. You're right. We will get there. Appreciate you guys in advance. You're doing your part. It helps us. We wouldn't ask you otherwise. Just a subtle reminder. If you're in here, you go, yeah, I'll take a second out of my day, hit the thumbs up for these boys doing some content on a Tuesday night. Hey, do you like Clayton Kershaw at all?
I wish I liked him more. It's insane that I don't have him. I get shitty pitchers in course all the time in massive, massive ways. Today, I don't have him. I have 3%. I would not mind at all if I had more than that of Clayton Kershaw. Adam will be very surprised when I paste my exposures over to him. Like, we shoot each other everything that we have each day. And on course days, it's usually me rostering some total asshole. But today, when we finally have Clayton Kershaw, I have 3%. I hope when I rerun it, I have more. But right now, I don't. I totally I would rather have Clayton Kershaw than Framber Valdez or Joe Ryan. I think that's a much more reasonable way to go. Do you like taking pitchers in course? No, but like the Rockies stink.
They do. And Clayton Kershaw is Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those spots where the Rockies are still bad, even at home. Any Rocky bats interest?
Not really. I have 2% of Elias Diaz, if that's interesting. But no, this is not a spot to go for offense today.
All right, let's talk about the White Sox and the Angels then. Keep this train rolling. Michael Kopech, Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani, I don't think needs much of an introduction here or even much analysis. 31% owned, 22.6% top two pitcher in the top stack tool. So still good, but some negative leverage. But it is a pretty good matchup here. How much of him are you getting to today? I know you have a ton of Kevin Gossman. So what does that do for your Ohtani shares?
Ton of Ohtani as well. I'm higher on Ohtani than we are. I have 50% Ohtani. He's 32% owned or something in that neighborhood. So I'm going 50-50 on both of those guys at the top. It does concern me a little bit. I mean, let's be clear here. We're talking about a well over 30% strikeout rate. Righties just cannot touch him. Lefties, touch him like a normal way, 150 x ISO type stuff. Nothing. He's not up in the 200s, but he can give up some power to lefties. There are one or two problematic spots for him, but he looks great. He's to me, the best overall pitcher on today's slate. Completely deserves the salary. The White Sox used to strike out a lot. Now they don't. With Benintendi and Anderson 1-2 in the lineup, it's not as bad as it was. So this is a park that does give up a little bit of power. Lefty park factor for the Angels, 113. So, would it be crazy to see Gavin Sheets hit a home run today? Or maybe, well, that's probably my only answer because I don't think it's going to be Benintendi. Maybe it's Benintendi. Maybe it's Yasmani Grandal. But lefty power can play up against Ohtani in this park. That said, he will be one of the two most exposed things that I have today.
Okay. What's the second most exposed thing you're going to have today?
Kevin Gossman.
Okay, good. Thought you were going somewhere inappropriate on me.
I mean, I don't just go around exposing myself.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, I think that I would be commended for that.
Yeah, I go, you know what? I mean, if he's willing to do it, then we should all have no shame and not be fearful of something like that. I mean, if he is willing to do that.
Look, man, half of the package is awesome. It's just not the right half.
It's basically just a beanbag chair.
Kind of, yeah. With an insert something tiny floating on top of it.
Yeah. Do you have any bats from either side of this game?
It's certainly not Zion.
Do you have any bats?
I thought I was about to tell you that I had a shit ton of the Angels, but that was just Ohtani's pitcher ownership in the wrong spot. I don't really have any bats. I certainly don't want to target against the Angels or against Ohtani. And Michael Kopech is good enough, I guess, is susceptible to power, will mow down a lot of lefties. There's blow up potential for sure for Kopech. I like the the sort of idea of going to the Angels, but losing Ohtani's bat just makes it worse.
Let's talk about Tampa and Arizona then.
Okay.
Yeah, Taj Bradley is the guy's got elite strikeout stuff. There's no doubt about that. K rate north of 30%, coming off really his best performance of the season as far as efficiency and strikeouts go. But another thing, just talked about this morning, Josh, the guy went out and threw 6 almost perfect innings. He only allowed 3 hits, 1 run, came on a solo shot, struck out 8 against Baltimore in a pretty tough matchup, and with 83 pitches, didn't come back out. Like he's got a leash on him, and it's shorter than you would like for a guy that's mid 9K.
Yeah, and that makes him really difficult to get to here, even with that massive strikeout stuff. 36% to lefties so far since he's got called up, 32% to righties. But this Diamondbacks team doesn't strike out all that much. They limit power from a park perspective. And I just don't know how far Bradley's going to go in this game. And we have so many pitchers that someone's just bound to throw 7 innings and get a bunch of Ks. And if he doesn't have that sort of depth in the game, then he's harder to get to. And the price hasn't been lessened enough to try to get to him. I'm much more likely to get to Gallen on the opposite side. I think his 14-ish% ownership for the day is about right. 9,900, taking on the Rays. That's going to be a better strikeout matchup. Relatively similar in overall quality for the offense. The park will help him out. I think Gallen looks good. He's like a guy that you should have about 10% of.
1-2 said if Laffy's on a show, there's an 85% chance it descends into chaos. That is true. I've been trying to rein in Josh lately, but it is true. Brandon said makes it more fun. Only stats would get so old. Believe it or not, we do, in fact, we have been doing this long enough to have a method to our madness. Like we try and strike a balance. Strategy show can get out of control, but we do try and find a balance between, once in a while trying to make it not just, mundane statistical talk for a 15 game. So how boring that would be for baseball, dude? Be bored.
I can't do that. I mean, we think about all the different things that we've talked about on just this show, let alone every show. We hit a lot today.
My buddy who I didn't even know followed me on Twitter. Just
is
like
that the butcher?
Yeah, an actual real life friend texted me. I haven't heard from him in a while, and he's like, "Yo, I just saw a video on Twitter. I don't know how old it is." Of your co-host talking about the 1,000-pound sister. She's like, yo, I was laughing so hard I cried. That's
what I want. That's the goal, man.
That didn't get enough love, dude, because most people didn't get it, but that was the best.
I'm connecting human beings, man. This is my role in life.
I have a question preloaded for you next time we do a strategy show. I can't wait to ask you this.
I can't wait, man. Just do it.
Do it. We have 4 minutes and we still have 2.5 games. I will not do it. I'll leave you
sex
and
twice in that time.
Hanging in suspense. No, because I want to get into a real conversation. I think this is a conversation that has legs. You know what I mean? This could go somewhere. And I don't want to.
So it has nothing to do with Oscar Pistorius.
As Norm Macdonald would say, he had rocket ships. Zach Gallen, any interest here on that side? And talk about bats too, since we only have a few minutes before we turn this over to Live Before Lot.
Well, it's going to be a lot easier to talk about Gallen since I already did that part. Bats wise, I don't want to target against Bradley or against Gallen. There is basically no exposure. I have one lineup with one share of Corbin Carroll. I have 1 3-man of the Rays. That is it. If you want anything in this game, it's pitching.
Okay. New York Yankees, Oakland A's. Yep. Any pitching here at all? Like, does Paul Blackburn appeal to you at all?
No, never. But he's definitely like a better dude than he had been for the previous 4 or 5 years. But today is not a Paul Blackburn day if you're looking to get him against the Yanks.
How about bats on either side? I mean, it's not exactly the best park either.
I like the Yankees. I don't like the park at all, but not a lot of ownership coming into the Yanks. Certainly a lot of power that you could try to buy, and maybe Paul Blackburn turns back into Paul Blackburn. But whether it's Glaber at the top, Harrison Bader, Rizzo, Stanton, Bowers, like up and down the lineup, there's a lot of very interesting power. I assume this lineup isn't official yet. Let me double check that. Yeah, it's not. If the projected lineup that I have in right now is in, I'm going to get to a lot of the Yankees, and this will be one of the stands. I currently have 26 5-man stacks of the Yanks. This is one of the 5 main offenses that I will have.
All right.
I hope Paul Blackburn sucks. Chris Baggs, if you're watching, I don't want Paul Blackburn to be the Paul Blackburn of the night.
Well, the New York Yankees right now, they do have some slight positive leverage in the top stack tool. But yeah, basically similar ownership to the top stack probability. But once again, man, it's just outside of the Dodgers, no team is pop. Like every other team is between like 2 and I'm talking about the teams that are actually semi-viable, or between like 2 and 5% top stack probability.
Yeah, it's just going to be low numbers because you're out of, like, you're taking, normally you're splitting that out over these 30 teams, but in this case, you're already lopping out like 25% of the top stack odds and then reallocating the other 75 to those teams. You just don't have enough room to like separate everybody else out. So you're just going to take extreme stands on whatever teams you're getting to by default today.
Last game, Washington and Seattle. But before we do, today's show sponsored by BetMGM. You know, we always have the Prize Picks promo. We always talk about that. Yeah. We don't, where you get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum signing up for Prize Picks. You know that, Josh. We don't talk enough about the BetMGM one for people who are actually in legal betting states. The fact that we kind of brush this one under the rug, bury the lead with BetMGM, you're getting a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum when you sign up there and deposit $10. And better than a first match deposit bonus, you have the first bet insurance up to $1,000, meaning no matter how much you bet up to $1,000 on your first bet, if it loses, you get it all back in bonus bets. This might not seem like as good a promos as other ones out there because people love turning their $5 into $100 or whatever on a $5 bet, but having a $1,000 first bet insurance up to $1,000, even if it's 100 or 300, is a massive, massive problem. It's. I think the problem is that people don't see it that way, but it's a great one. Even if you don't, even if you're not into sports betting and you're like, yo, I've heard about the lineup generator. I've heard about the 50% off the first week or first month of any tools. If you're in a legal betting state, Josh, you could instead bypass all of that, take $10, use the link in the description or in chat, put it on BetMGM, make one bet, just one bet of $10 on whatever you want, get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, every tool for $120. What?
This is the deal, bonus, whatever that exists right now that I am desperate to get when sports betting is legalized in North Carolina.
And you're not even talking about the free month. You're talking about
and I get no value out of the free month, even though everybody else would get that value. I obviously already have it. This is the one I want the most because I'm going to put down $1,000 on some sort of underdog in like the plus 150 to plus 250 range and just hope I win and build out that bigger bankroll at BetMGM. But if I don't, I just run it back with everything that I just did. Nothing changes for me. I'm going to be putting those bets out one way or the other. I don't care if it's bet credit or my money. This is the start of my bankroll on the site. I want as much as I could possibly get. I really hope that this still exists by the time we get to January and then whenever North Carolina is officially live.
100%. And you can do it at all. But I say it with the pick'em sites all the time. Like with sports books, it's the same. If you're not taking advantage and signing up on every book to get every promo possible, you're legitimately spitting in the face of free money. And if you go, well, why do they do this? Because sports betting industry is a massively competitive industry. They want your business and they're going to compete to give out the best promos, but forget about all of that. You're getting a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, everything on our site, all of our tools, all of that included, link in the description and in chat. Plus, who knows, maybe you hit your first bet and you crush and you actually build up a bankroll and now you're betting on BetMGM for a long time to come.
That's the plan.
Yeah. I mean, look, worst case scenario, you lose your bet and then you lose the other one, but you still have a free month. And we hope we do that because we think you're going to win and we think you're going to stick around. And you've seen the screenshots. Washington and Seattle. Let's wrap this one up. We'll turn it over to the Live Before Lock crew coming up right after this. Jordan, who do we got? Is it Neil and Greg? Neil and Greg coming up after this. Don't go anywhere. All 900 of you in here hanging out with us. Washington plus 185 dogs, moneyline dogs on the road against Seattle today, Josh. We talked about Brian Wu earlier. He's getting a lot of ownership. He's very inexpensive. And then you have Jake Irvin on the other side of this one against Seattle in a pretty favorable pitcher's park. What do you make of the pitching matchup and the hitting matchups to wrap us up here on a Tuesday night?
I don't find Jake Irvin to be all that interesting. Brian Wu looks good, 6,900 against the Nats. It's not a great strikeout matchup. The Nats don't strike out all that much, but he should be able to avoid any major runs. This is the Mariners are the worst offense that's on today's slate. I have 17% Wu right now. He's 27% owned. So I am a little under the field. It probably has something to do with the fact that I'm so far over on Ohtani and Gossman, but I think Wu stands out as one of the better pitching options that you can get to. Oh, I got to finish off with bats. Certainly not the Nats. I am getting to the Mariners, though. I have 25-man stacks for Seattle. Happy to target against Jake Irvin. Not a guy that I'm all that worried about. Righty power plays up in Seattle. They are sixth in ownership, but that's only 4.8%. Most owned guys like Julio Rodriguez at 7%. Not a problem to me. I think Cal Raleigh really stands out if you're looking to buy a catcher and try to get a home run.
Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Very fun show. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman on Twitter, me at Laffy_D. Thanks to Jordan Klein for producing this one. Greg and Neil coming up next. And remember, everything in the description. Want the lineup generator, $448 a week, or 50% off all the tools, or you just want to get it all for free for the entire month. We got you on BetMGM. You put $10 in, you bet it, and you're in business, baby. And the Sims tool down there. Whatever you want, we got you covered. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Strategy show, Deeper Dive live before lock. We'll run this one back once again. And then we'll do it again and a few times after that until football season approaches. We'll see you guys soon.
Whoa.
Thanks for watching as always. Peace. Well, it's that time of week again, and we've got some monster new inductees into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. A huge week across the board, and we're going to go over all of them. And all you got to do to get involved, download that Stochastic avatar. It's stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. $120 value, more than anything, really. Crowning achievement of your life. Get inducted right here into the Hall of Fame. We do a new one every single Monday, and let's get it started with a huge win from Lyle Peel. Took this down the lineup. Let me rephrase how he wanted to say it. Took this down with the lineup generator. Love to see it. $4.48 for the first week, by the way. First takedown ever. LP Focus, $10,000 in the Mighty Micro Mini Max. Congratulations, Lyle. That's awesome, especially seeing that you did it with the lineup generator. And this made me even more excited. Mitchell Kemp, literally my first day with the Stochastic MLB Sims tool. See, I mean, we got tools for everybody. Hit my biggest MLB DFS hit. Great product, already paying off. Thanks for the great content. Congrats, Mitchell. And notice, right under Lyle, right under LP Focus in that same contest for a sweet $5,000. And Ryan Carter took down the relay throw tonight, single bullet. Y'all are the best site out there, in my opinion. $50,000 for Letus Brutalis, single entry into the relay throw. Barry Watts, second week using the Sims tool. First 5-figure win, $10,000 in the 80K ball four. Congrats, man. That's awesome. $10,500. Second place to Barry Watts. And Adam Scher back on the board, baby. MLB is for masochists. Golf is easy. $750 in the $20,000 in the showdown. Round one, I believe, for Adam. $20,000 to our boy Ship My Money. And Miami Heat, 4 more till history. Well, that name's got to be changed, huh? But anyway, Bama Jones, congrats, man. Had a little stat correction. First place, $1,200 in the Wednesday MLB Bunt single entry contest. Big win there. And Greg Ehrenberg, our own Greg Ehrenberg, lost out on a chance for first when the Angels pinch hit for Trout, but it was still a solid night with some help from, believe it or not, the MLB Sims tool. It's stochastic.com. $5,000 for our boy Greg. And Keith, thanks again for the awesome tools. $300. Second place in the 6K solo shot. Congrats, Keith. XFL expert, or El Cuatro Loco 88 UFC 10K flying knee, takes home $1,000 and says, if I do nothing else in DFS, can at least say I won a contest that had Alex Baker and Greg Ehrenberg. Next up, we got our boy David. Thank you, EMAC, for your top plays article. 50 cents in the 1,500. That article is free, by the way, on the site every single day. Congratulations, David Colasanto. And then 2 more. MF Chooch. Chooch 724 just says his name with an exclamation point. $1,500. Little NASCAR action here. Congrats to you. And Jason Sweden, 25 cents into 42.50. Thanks for the help and all you guys do. Cheers in the MLB Showdown 2K quarter jukebox. Remember, when you get up on the board, get your free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted in the Hall of Fame by yours truly right here. Download the avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And join us right here in the Stochastic Hall of Fame. See you back here for the next one.
Really?
I can hear it right now.
Yeah, now I can. I don't normally hear. Do you normally hear the music before we start, though, Neil?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's not a complaint. Like, I don't care if I could hear it or not. I just think it's funny. It was like, all right, here comes the music. And I've never thought to say that there is no music. It pretty much never works.
Yeah, I never hear it.
Yeah. You did 5 twice. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock. As you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel because Neil Orfield and I are about to break down a 15-game MLB slate. There's some weather involved. I can see it right outside my window right now. We've got a Coors Field game with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Lots going on today, but also shout out to BetMGM, who is sponsoring our show today. And if you guys are signing up at BetMGM, you could get access to the tools and data we have at Stochastic.com, totally free for 1 month. All you have to do is sign up using the link that we have below. Also, your first bet is going to be $1,000. You lose that bet, you still are going to get refunded with bonus bets over at BetMGM. So a couple reasons to get in the door over at BetMGM. Most importantly, sign up using that link. 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. If you anybody know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Neil Orfield, how are you doing, man?
I'm seeing Malakar is paying it forward in chat, gifting a bunch of memberships to people coming off a big day for Malakar yesterday. So fun to see that. Yeah, I'm doing well. Chris Williams is right. 822 watching, only 240 likes. Please do hit that like button for us. Excited for this slate. Haven't decided yet exactly how many of my stacks are going to be Dodger stacks. I'm probably using lineup generator. So I'm guessing I'm going to have some Dodger stacks in there, but it's going to be an interesting one to break down.
It's going to be most of them for me. So I ran a set of lineups before this, and I'm creating a second one. The main reason that I'm creating a second set of lineups right now is because I'm looking out my window, Neil. And as the people know by now, I don't live all that far from New York City, and it is raining. The clouds are very, very dark, and it started to make me think like, boy, there's a lot of risk involved in this Mets game. It's a 15-game slate. If you really want to roll the dice on shitty weather on a 15-game slate where there's a lot of other options, I'm tending to think not right now. And it's just one of these spots too, where it's not even that I have like a super strong lean on the weather. It's like, why even roll the dice when there are so many other spots to choose from? So I've got one set of lineups that I've already built in the occasion that I'm going to leave the game in, but right now I'm leaning towards taking it out. So I've got that set of lineups running that I'm going to upload into the Sims in a second, which, by the way, if you guys want to sign up for that, there is a link that we have below. But what are you going to be doing with the weather?
Yeah. So I think that's probably a smart thing to do to just avoid that game. It's not a game that I feel like I need to be playing much of anyway, I think. So I guess my best answer is I don't really know yet. But I could see myself getting into some Met stacks here. I'll see what comes up in lineup. I guess I think that I'm not going to play a lot of it. I don't want to have any exposure to this game in a majority of my lineups. But if I have a couple lineups where I do play a Met stack and I'm only playing 20 lineups tonight. If I have a couple out of 20 that are Met stacks, I think I'd be okay with it. I might accept that level of risk. I just don't want to have it in like half my lineups.
Yeah, people in chat saying weather in New York is fine. I'm looking out my window. Disagree. disagree. I could take, there is thunder and lightning right now. The trees are all swaying back and forth. My lights just flickered. I don't know if that came across over there. So yeah, it is not great, but like I said, it doesn't mean I think the game is guaranteed to be canceled or anything like that. I just think there's some risk involved, and on a 15-game slate, I don't really feel like it is a risk that I have to take. But let's go ahead and answer some of the questions that have come in. Shout out to Malukar, who has gifted out 5 YouTube subscriptions. We appreciate that. Malukar the other day. Did you see the win that Malukar had?
I did. I saw it just yesterday on Twitter, right? It's funny. I think he might have deleted the tweet or something, because I kept on seeing responses to it, and then I'd go and it would say this tweet unavailable. And then eventually I found I don't know what happened, but eventually I did find Malukar's tweet.
I did notice that as well. Malukar, who's very excited, he DM'd me. And when people like Malukar went, and Malukar's a good dude. I got really excited when Malukar messaged me. He sends out the tweet, and at first he said he was too nervous to send out the tweet, and then I guess he deleted it. So I don't know what ended up happening. But Malukar, why did you delete the tweet? I'd be curious.
He's saying he didn't, I think. He says no. He says 3 question marks. I don't know what that means exactly. Something was happening where we couldn't see it for some reason.
And maybe he blocked all of us. But either way, Malukar had a big hit last night. Congrats to him. And he gave out some memberships to the YouTube channel. Another super chat in here is from Bill Betts. Bill Betts says, using the 448 offer, I'm running a 7-day test. Today is day 4. No lie. First 3 days were winning days. Loving the ease of the lineup generator. Perfect for me.
That is
so,
beautiful.
I mean, I wasn't going to be doing an ad read right now, but Bill Betts kind of did it for us right here, right? He signed up using the link below, less than $5, and he's won the first 3 days that he signed up using the lineup generator. So shout out to Bill Betts and congrats. Do love to see that as well. Finby's in our Discord channel and has questions for us at me, so we could answer those over the course of the show. And have we gotten a follow-up from Malukar? You don't have to tweet again. Now he feels bad and he's trying to tweet at us again. You don't have to. I'm pretty sure that tweet's deleted though. I just went and looked again.
I don't know. Maybe he double tweeted. I don't understand what happened, but I did I found it like a bunch of like this tweet is unavailable. And then eventually I found the tweet after that though. So I usually understand what happened when people are like blocking things on Twitter, but I did not understand what was happening in this case.
Yeah, we've got Celia Dweck in the chat saying the storm is coming. Live in New York. Yeah, it is bad times outside. It is pouring thunder and lightning. And yeah, we are definitely on weather alert, not just for that game, but for me in particular, my house right here. Now, and follow up from Malukar. I don't know. I'm old. I didn't want to say it outright, but I had a feeling that was correlated to the issue.
Is that also why I don't understand it? But you can't find it either. So I don't know. Who knows what's going on? No
questions yet that have come in the Discord channel. Neil, let's start looking at some of the pitchers for today. And I know a lot of the a lot of the focus, I should say, is going to be on the offense and on that Dodgers stack. But before we get there, what pitchers are we going to be looking at to potentially fill out some lineups that may or may not be chalky at offense? And where I think we have to start is with the pay-up pitchers, because if you look at pitcher, there's a couple of pay-up options that are popular. Shohei Ohtani and Kevin Gausman. Both of them project for right around 30% ownership. Ohtani a little bit more popular, the 33% projected ownership for him. Gausman, 27% projected ownership. Of the 2 stud pay-up pitchers, do you have a preference between the 2? Do you like both or do you like neither?
I like both. I mean, both in fine matchups. I think if I have a preference between the 2, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. He has the highest odds on the slate of being a top 2 pitcher, 22% chance of being one of the top 2 pitchers on the slate, which on a slate this size is a very high chance of being one of the top 2 pitchers on the slate. He is getting 32% ownership, so he's getting even more ownership than Gausman. So, but I think it's warranted. I think I'd rather just take my shot with Ohtani against the White Sox rather than Gausman versus San Francisco. Not a strong lean for me, but that would be the way that I lean. How about you?
Yeah, I'm getting to more of Ohtani. Now, with that said, I'm actually underweight to both right now. And this is where I kind of think that we have to bring in the discussion about the Coors Field game a little bit into the conversation, because you had said before that you anticipate you were probably going to be overweight to the field on the Dodgers, which kind of happened. If you're using our data today, you're going to be overweight to the field on the Dodgers. It's just the way it's going. But with that said, I don't want to be playing the Dodgers as a stack and then all of the chalk pitchers, right? So I know it's a 15-game slate. There's a lot of options, but somewhere my lineups have to be differentiated. And this is standing out to me as well when I'm running my lineups through our simulation tool, is that I end up coming in underweight to the field on both of the top 2 studs. My preference is Ohtani. I get a little bit more exposure to him, but Does look like I'm going to be underweight to both of them. It's going to allow me to be a little bit different. Were you able to hear that, by the way?
No, what happened?
Oh, it was like a lightning bolt right across the street and then very loud thunder. So to me, it was very loud, but I wasn't sure if we got. You did hear it? Yeah. Yeah. But more reason also, like I said, that I think that there's a chance that Mets game doesn't end up playing. But anyway, when it comes to the pitchers, I want to be underweight to the two studs for a couple reasons. Number one, it allows me to save salary to pay up for these expensive Dodgers bats, but it also is going to let me differentiate my lineups a little bit.
Yeah, so I just used lineup generator to generate 20 lineups just to see like what I was getting in those 20 lineups. And yeah, I'm not getting to like my top exposed pitcher, and I'm definitely not comfortable with this, particularly given the weather. But David Peterson, currently my top exposed pitcher. I'm probably going to get rid of some of that David Peterson. I don't really want to take on the risk of 50% David Peterson, but David Peterson, Brian Wu, Shohei Ohtani, I have 30%. So I'm actually like close to the field in my first 20 lineups that I ran. But Kevin Gossman just 15%. So sort of interesting to see that just using the lineup generator, I am getting naturally underweight to the field on the highest chalk pitchers.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to upload my lineups right now just in case my internet goes out or my power goes out, and I make sure I have these lineups all set to go. And yeah, this set of lineups, I'm going to be doing it without the Mets. If you guys feel like there's a player or something from the Mets you absolutely have to get to, like, okay, I just don't think it's all that necessary to give myself that kind of risk when I do see this much rain outside my window right now. But if we go and look at some of the other pitchers, then Neil, is there a contrarian pay up option that you like outside of Gausman, Ohtani, that maybe if somebody wants to pay up for, they could differentiate their lineups in some way?
Kind of interested in Taj Bradley, getting just 3% projected ownership, 9,400, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Kind of interesting there. Maybe a little Framber Valdez. Looks like a decent pay up option. Kind of interesting. I mean, I believe I looked in Zach Gallen. Is he currently the leader in the Cy Young race this year? And he's getting just 12% projected ownership, 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Obviously, the really tough matchup with Tampa Bay, but yeah, I do have some interest in Zach Gallen as well. So we actually have a number of pay up options that are kind of interesting here today. Joe Ryan, I mean, getting less than 1% ownership with a 7% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Sort of interesting. Obviously hate the matchup there for Joe Ryan, but maybe I'll consider him. Yeah, there's really kind of a lot of pay up options that I have interest in. I think if I had to rank them, it would probably be, I'll go Zach Gallen, Taj Bradley, Framber Valdez. How do you like the other non-chalk pay up options?
Yeah, so we just got a question in Discord, and I'm happy we got this one because this was going to be my answer for my favorite contrarian pay up option to get to. That is Einsteinium. Says, how do you feel about Clayton Kershaw today? It's funny, Neil, you had just mentioned who the leading player is for the NL Cy Young Award. It is Zach Gallen. The runner-up right now, not that that's necessarily the right terminology, but the second most likely player to win the NL Cy Young is Clayton Kershaw right now, who's healthy, which we've not really seen from Clayton Kershaw very much. He has already thrown 90 innings this year. That is already nearly as many as he threw in 2022, nearly as many as he threw in 2021. It's about double what he threw in 2020. And there are a couple other factors now that kind of trickle down that are making Clayton Kershaw, to me, more effective. One of them is that now that he's actually healthy, his velocity is actually up this year, which you don't typically see from pitchers who are 35, but I think some of that goes to the health. Last year, average fastball velocity, 90.8 miles per hour. The year before, 90.7. This year, 91.4. So this kind of velocity we haven't seen from Kershaw in a few years. With him having the velocity uptick a little bit, his strikeout rate is 28.5%. Last year was 27.8%. For his career, it's 27.7%. He's generating some more swing and misses this year. So there's a lot of positive signs about Clayton Kershaw. Here's the negative. He's pitching in Coors Field, right? The reason we're going to like the Dodgers offense is because they're at Coors Field. The reason that Kershaw is not popular at all is because he's pitching at Coors Field, but he's still Clayton Kershaw. He's having an excellent season. There's a clear upside there, and his current projected ownership is sub 10%. So at those kind of numbers, I do like getting to Clayton Kershaw as a differentiation play, not like my most confident play on the slate. If you guys are playing 1, 2, 3 lineups, I wouldn't say you play Clayton Kershaw on them, but if you're playing 20 plus lineups, I think he's worth having in 1 or 2 of those lineups. And then also if you're playing, bulk mass entry, I think he's worth getting to like 10 to 15% of when I'm doing pretty much all of the times I run lineups through the Sims. When I took the Mets game out, before when I had it in, I was getting 15 to 20% of Clayton Kershaw. So I do like getting overweight to the field on him for sure. Does the Coors Field aspect scare you too much to the point you don't want to roster him, or do you view him as a viable GPP target?
He's definitely a viable GPP target. So I'm not getting to any of him currently in the lineup chat. I actually went back and got rid of all of my David Peterson lineups to just see what else I could get out there. And I'm still not getting to any Clayton Kershaw, but at the same time, I do think that it's a sharp play. I mean, we talked about this, I think last week. We have a Coors slate last week? And we were talking about like kind of mediocre pitchers that were willing to play in Coors Field because nobody else is playing them. Now, this is obviously a larger slate, so it's a little bit tougher to want to play a pitcher in Coors Field. But if there is a pitcher that you're going to be playing in Coors Field, it obviously makes sense for it to be Kershaw. So, yeah, I think that is a play that I would have some interest in. If I were playing more than 20 lineups, I think I would probably get there. I'm not going to force it using lineup generator to like try and like wait until I get to some Kershaw, but I don't hate it. Like that's fairly low ownership for a pitcher of Kershaw's quality. So yeah, I like that call.
Yeah, let me look. In my top 20 projected lineups, in terms of projected ROI, Kershaw is in 4 of them. So he is in 20% of my top 20 projected lineups. And that's about also, if I look at my top 150 projected lineups, I also have Kershaw who's in 22% of them. So pretty good looking option there, in my opinion, if you want to be contrarian at payout pitcher. Now, if we start to go through some of the mid-range options, Neil, what is standing out to you there when we start to talk about, let's say like I guess let's talk about Brian Wu individually because he's projected to be so popular. We've got Brian Wu projected for 27% ownership. He's 6,900 on DraftKings. He certainly works as an SP2. I don't know what this guy has to do to get his salary to come out. Like maybe I see Sean V is in the chat. I know the other day Sean V was talking about how bad Brian Wu was and there was no chance that he'd have a good game. So maybe Brian Wu is being priced by Sean V. Maybe that's what's going on here. But the reality is this guy is a fairly well-regarded pitching prospect. He's had really good results to this point in his career. He scored an average of 20 fantasy points in his last 3 starts, something along those lines. So I don't understand how he remains priced to just 6,900, especially because he's in a good matchup. So he's too cheap for sure, but he's also somewhat popular. So what are you going to be doing with Brian Wu at his ownership projected for 27% right now?
Yeah, I mean, I like Brian Wu quite. I'm probably going to be overweight to the field, to be honest. So we do have negative leverage on Brian Wu in the tools. But man, 34% strikeout rate so far this year. And he was 34% in AA before coming to the majors as well. 31% last year, 34% in 2022. I guess those are all 2022 numbers, but he had crazy high strikeout numbers last year as well across all the different teams that he played for in the minors. And he's 6,900 against the Nationals. Like this is just, the price is wrong on Brian Wu. We do, as I said, we have negative leverage, 26% projected ownership with a 17% chance of being a top 2 value. 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher overall. But that's because there are a number of pitchers that could like edge him out here in terms of being a top 2 pitcher or top 2 value. At 6,900, I still think like he's just more likely to be, we'll say, top 5 or something like that. Like he's just got such good odds of having a score that isn't going to hurt you and is going to help you at least somewhat, even if it's not the best spot on the board. So I imagine I'm going to end up overweight to the field on Brian Wu. I have not I'm going through lineup generator again, but I think that I'm going to end up probably actually overweight to the field despite the negative leverage. How about you?
Yeah, so Brian Wu is currently my most rostered starting pitcher. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that I get to like a crazy amount. I'm pretty spread out of pitching today. There's not like one pitcher I look at and be like, that's the guy I need a bunch of. What I need a bunch of is the Los Angeles Dodgers as stacks, and then a little bit mixing and matching a pitcher, getting to different spots. So Brian Wu is my most rostered starting pitcher, which means that he's in a little bit less than 30% of my lineup. So pretty close to the field on him, but I think he's a really strong option. If you guys are playing cash games today, I think it's pretty simple. I would go with Shohei Ohtani and Brian Wu as the 2 pitchers. Is that how you feel as well? Or is there a different angle you want to go with in cash games?
That seems like a no-brainer to me in cash. I imagine that's where I do have so in GPPs, I have concerns that what percentage of the field do you think are going to have Wu in there along with at least 4 Dodgers? Like what do you think the lineups in the field, 15%, something like that of the field is going to have that combo of Brian Wu with at least 4 or 5 Dodgers? I think it's going to be a high number.
Let's see. I mean, it's hard to say because it's probably less than that, right? Because Woo's projected for less than 30% ownership, and the Dodgers as a team are projected for less than 20% ownership. So it's hard to believe. Like, I would say it's probably closer to 10% of the field.
I think you're probably right. Based on those numbers, it's unlikely. I think there is going to be a lot of like correlation there, but like probably not going to be 100% correlation, obviously, between Woo and the Dodgers. So maybe that's a little bit high, but it is going to be a heavy percent of the field is going to have that combo. So you're going to have to figure out a secondary stack to get different if you do that. But overall, yeah, I like Woo quite a bit. I just finished going through, and this is, of course, I went out of my way to avoid David Peterson. So like I had been getting 50% David Peterson. So avoiding him drove up my Brian Woo exposure, but now I'm at 58% Brian Woo, which is a lot. With I guess I just have 19 line of spades so far, but yeah, 58% Brian Woo. He just looks really good.
Yeah, so I think Brian Woo is the safest cheap starting pitcher to get to. Like I said, he's the one I get the most exposure to, but it doesn't mean there aren't other cheap pitchers that we could go to differentiate, right? He's the safest one. He's the cash game play. Tournaments, I'm about even with the field, but there are some pitchers that I think we could talk about in large field tournaments that we could save some salary with that also makes sense. By the way, something else about Brian Woo, not even factoring in price, just based on projected results. We have Brian Woo projected as the third most likely pitcher to be a top 2 scoring pitcher on the slate. We've got Ohtani 1, Gausman 2, Brian Woo 3, and then behind him it's Zach Gallen, David Peterson, Framber Valdez. By the way, have you made a determination yet? I know you said that you were thinking about taking the Mets game out, but what are you going to be doing with Peterson or still unsure?
So I went back and got rid of all of my Peterson exposure. Yeah, I think that I would prefer to get it out of like if I were getting to a lot in lineup general or it was going to be an issue for me trying to get it out, then maybe I wouldn't have gotten all the way out. But it looks like I don't have any exposure to the game currently, and I am happy with that. I have 5% Tommy Pham. I guess I have whatever. I've got looks like 1 5-man Met stack maybe, but I'm okay with that.
And then we've got a follow-up question here from Gangrene who wants to know, what are our thoughts on Brito? My thoughts on him are that he's terrible, which is typically enough reason for me to not want to play somebody in tournaments. We do have Brito in a good matchup against the Oakland A's, so that's one positive. But even at that price point and the matchup, like we do not project him well at all. We have Brito projected with a 6.4% chance to be one of the top 2 value pitchers on the slate. Like those are really low numbers. And I'll pull up right here the numbers overall for the year on Johnny Brito. And, you know, I remember there was a slate, I want to say it was against your Twins actually, where Brito was super chalky early in the year, Neil. And it went so poorly. And I think people have not played Brito ever since then. But there was a slate against the Twins where I want to say he was like 25% owned in large field tournaments, didn't make it out of the first inning, gave up like 7 runs or something like that, like something absolutely terrible. And then people were kind of like, oh, maybe this guy just kind of sucks, which it does seem to be the case. He has a 4.89 ERA this year, 5.4 expected ERA. At one point, he was pitching in the minor leagues. Like, I don't even understand how he's at the big league level right now. Listen to his minor league numbers, Neil. He made 4 starts in AAA this year and at a 7.08 ERA and a 7.33 FIP in AAA. And now he's getting his ass kicked at the major leagues. Like, there's nothing here that really suggests to me that he should be having any kind of success at the big league level. All the projection systems are really low on him, and he doesn't strike guys out. So it's not even like you're looking at a guy. It's like, he's giving up a bunch of runs, but he has a 26% K rate. So if things go well, he can generate fantasy points from that angle. He's a 16.7% K rate, right? Decent matchup against the Oakland A's. But if I had to pick sides here, I'd actually go with the Oakland A's over Brito. Is he somebody you think you're going to be getting exposure to?
No, I'm not getting to any exposure to Brito. Yeah, I mean, that's it's funny because I feel like we remember it because this might have been one of our regulars in chat who disagrees with us a lot, was very high on Brito in that game against the Twins that he got absolutely crushed. I'm not sure if that, but it stands out to me as well that Brito was like very chalky and we didn't like him, and he was did not work out for people. Yeah, the A's are definitely. I'm with you. The A's are actually kind of interesting if you want to get contrarian. They're going to look better than Brito is in this matchup. But yeah, I'm not playing any Johnny Brito.
We have a question in Discord from Heflove. Heflove wants to know, is playing months in your Dodger stack a way to get different? So right now, here's the issue. We don't have an ownership projection on Muncy because it's not clear if he's going to be in the starting lineup. He's been on the injured list. Reports have indicated that Muncy is going to be activated today, but we don't have that Dodgers official starting lineup. So as of right now, it would look like, hey, Muncy isn't projected for ownership. If we get that starting lineup to come out soon and Muncy's in it, I guarantee you he's going to end up being really popular.
So I didn't get to, it doesn't look like I got to any in lineup generator.
He's
currently
not in our projected lineup for the Dodgers right now.
Okay.
But the expectation is that he's going to be activated and be in the starting lineup. We don't have a lineup for the Dodgers yet. My gut feeling is because they're trying to figure out if Muncy is going to be in the starting lineup today or tomorrow. They said he was going to be in the starting lineup today, but that was Dave Roberts said that on Sunday. So, a couple of days have passed. Things could change. So we'll see. We'll see what the starting lineup is. But I do think the reason that we're waiting for that lineup is because they're just testing out Muncy's hamstring probably in warm-ups to see if he's good to go.
Yep, seems likely.
So we'll see when that lineup comes out. But anyway, just to get back to the question before from Heflub, if he's in the starting lineup, he's not going to be contrarian.
You think he'll be more contrarian than he would have otherwise been because people don't build their lineups with him in? So he'll maybe be a little bit lower owned than he would have been, but still going to get probably double-digit ownership, I would guess.
Yeah. So let me look at what are the ownership projections individually for the other Dodgers hitters. We've got Mookie at 25%, Will Smith 23%, Freddie Freeman 22%, 16% Martinez, 16% Vargas, 12% Outman. Yeah, I guess we could say he's going to be 16 to 18% owned, something along those lines.
Yeah, and that seems reasonable. I mean, that's wouldn't mind pivoting onto some Muncy if he's going to be lower owned than the other bats.
One thing that is nice about a 15-game slate is it's not like you get these offenses that are projected for 30+% ownership. As much as the Dodgers are the top stack on the slate and they're projected for the most ownership, we only have 3 players in the lineup projected for over 16% ownership right now.
Right. They're clearly the chalkiest team on the slate, and they clearly should be even more so than we have them projected for right now. So hard not to like the Dodgers here.
If you were playing a cheap pitcher, Neil, to get off of Brian Wu, right? Somebody who's projected for a little bit less ownership, who would be your option at pitcher if you wanted to save salary and weren't rostering Wu?
I think it'd be Ranger Suarez against the Cubs at 7,000.
Okay.
Let me see if there's anybody else who I like better. I say that in part because that is who I was getting to a decent amount of in lineup generator. So I just know that is who I am actually going to be having. I got to 20% Ranger Suarez. I've not looked at the weather it's always so weather dependent and whether I want to be playing people in Coors. Winds blowing in Coors with air quality issues. I guess some reason to think that, he benefits from the Coors effect a little bit today. I'd say for 7,000 or under pitchers, it's probably Ranger Suarez top of the board for me. And that's also obviously I'm trying to get away from David Peterson. Also looks pretty good here. It would be probably David Peterson if I were more confident that game is going to play. But without that game playing, it's probably Ranger Suarez. Martin Perez sort of interesting at 5,700 against Detroit. We have him with 9% ownership, 16% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. That's kind of interesting, but I think that it would probably be Ranger Suarez for me. How about you?
So I'm going to give out a large field tournament answer that isn't the most comfortable play, but there's a couple reasons for it. We have Brady Singer projected for how much ownership? 0.5%. The second most popular offense on the slate tonight is expected to be the Cleveland Guardians. And they are a team that is way over-owned in our projections, right? Top stacks tool, they've got them projected for too much ownership. When I was running the lineups through the Sims earlier and just now, I'm getting to the Guardians in less than 1% of my lineups. So with that in mind, if this is an offense that I'm going to be underweight to the field to, I might as well take some stabs at Singer, who has been absolute dog shit this year, but has a history of being a decent starting pitcher. Last year, he had a 3.23 ERA, 3.97 expected ERA, generated some strikeouts. He is absolutely dirt cheap right now. And I like the fact that he's going to give me 0 ownership by the field. He's going to give me some leverage against an offense that's expected to be popular. And then in addition, the matchup isn't all that hard either against the Guardians. It's just I'm kind of rostering this trash can of a pitcher who sucked this year. But if you make a 5-man Dodger stack and Singer's in the lineup, the entire lineup is contrarian.
Yeah, that's true. And yes, many people have corrected me. I've got Coors on the brain. I meant wind blowing in Wrigley.
Oh, I didn't even pick up that was
Yeah.
what you had said before.
I didn't until I read chat, but yes.
All right. No more ammo for Sean B to say that Neil doesn't know anything about baseball.
Doesn't even know where Coors is. Yeah.
Or the weather.
But I've admitted that I don't know the weather. So like, that's okay. I turn to you for my weather.
Yeah. I control the weather.
Yeah.
Guitar Z-Man 247 shout out. Thank you he gifted out 5 Stochastic YouTube memberships. Guitar Man, thank you for the support. We do appreciate you. And if anybody else wants to support our channel, just like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Are there any other pitchers that you're seeing that are any kind of a priority for you that we have not yet mentioned?
I don't think so that we have not yet mentioned. So I'll tell you who my highest exposed pitchers are now in my 20 lineups. After getting rid of David Peterson, I have Brian Wu, Gossman, Shohei Ohtani, Taj Bradley. We've talked about all of them. Ranger Suarez, next on the board, I have 20% Ranger Suarez. Jordan Montgomery, I'm actually getting to a little bit of a 7.2K Jordan Montgomery. And then, yeah, nobody else more than 5%. So where's Jordan Montgomery? Where is he ranked today? Yeah, playing Houston. So terrible matchup for Jordan Montgomery, but I guess 4% ownership and allows you to play chalkier bats and still be kind of contrarian. 4% ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher, 7% chance of being a top 2 pitcher overall. So I guess I get it. I don't love it, but I guess I'm okay with 10% Jordan Montgomery.
All right.
Greg, have you been playing this immaculate grid game? Just because we were talking about like this immaculate grid game. You don't even know what I'm talking about? Oh, you should check it out.
No clue what you're talking about.
It's a very fun, like it's a baseball knowledge game where they give you a grid. Like there's 9 squares and they show like the Cardinals on the left and then the Cubs on the top, and you have to like name a player who played for both the Cubs and the Cardinals. It's just a grid where you have to like find players who played for both of 2 different teams, and then like either they'll do like also a player on this team that had 200 strikeouts or won an MVP, that kind of thing. It's a very fun and very frustrating game because there are so many times I look at him like a player who played on both these teams. I can picture him. I'm so close, and I just can't come up with a name. But just because we were talking about baseball knowledge, it was reminding me how much I'm struggling with this game, but it is fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, they could stump you fairly easily. They just have to ask you, like, what team is Dansby Swanson on, and that's the end of the game.
But if I see Cubs and Braves on there, I'm going to get that one so easily, Greg.
Yeah, this sounds like a game that our old friend Joey Corman Jordan would be cheating at if he could play it. I think this is a game that maybe we should introduce it to our group chat, see if he cheats at it. Let's build some lineups in the MLB lineup generator, though. I'm curious to see what ends up popping up in that. And keep in mind, guys, that if you're signing up for the first time, use the link below because you are going to get 50% off a product that's already very cheap. So you're going to get access to it for less than $5. And we already have people that have messaged in and have told us that they've won. Neil himself has won good money using the MLB lineup generator. $1,000 last week he won with a lineup from the MLB lineup generator. We have the super chat before from Bill Betts. Bill Betts left a super chat saying that he's won each of the first 3 days that he's used the MLB lineup generator. It's super easy to use. It's our most beginner-friendly tool that we have here over at Stochastic.com. And when you sign up using the link that we have below, less than $5 when you sign up for that first time. Now, let's build out balanced lineups for today, Jordan. Yeah, let's go balanced. And start with DraftKings. And we'll see what ends up coming up here. What do you think? How many Dodgers are we going to get to, Neil?
I already saw. Oh, is he doing contrarian? No, he just did some balance and now some contrarian. Interesting.
Let's see.
Still a lot.
So we have our 3 most rostered hitters: Will Smith, James Outman, Mookie Betts, and then as you go down, David Peralta, Miguel Vargas, Freddie Freeman. We got a bunch of David Peterson in there. I would say that you have to be willing to embrace some risk if you're going to play Peterson. We're getting to a bunch of Brian Wu, Kevin Gausman at pitcher. But yeah, almost all of our most rostered hitters are Dodgers. Is that surprising to you at all?
It's not surprising to me. I was getting even more when I ran it earlier. But yeah, I mean, they show up so good for us in the tools. But it's not every day that you get the top stack in terms of top stack odds, also having pretty massive positive leverage on it. And it's just the Dodgers and Coors. They're going to look good.
Our 9 most rostered hitters are the 9 Dodgers that we've projected to be starting.
Oh, wow. That does surprise me a little bit. Like that is excessive, but also, I mean, it's fair. Like it surprises me a little bit, but I get it.
Keep scrolling down. I want to see what other I'm just curious what other hitters we might have gotten to. All right. And then behind it is some Guardians who are projected for a bunch of ownership. And then some Tigers. That's a little bit contrarian. But yeah, very, very chalky offenses. Very chalky offenses. By the way, Loughran is saying that to win last night, he copied some of what we talked about in the lineup generator.
And that's exactly what Ryan Carter said he did last Wednesday when he won the $50,000. He said he used his lineup generator, looked through the exposures, and then kind of used some of the names that were the heavier exposures to figure out what kind of stack he wanted to play.
Anything else that's standing out to you about these DK lineups other than that we're getting to all of the Dodgers in the world?
We're getting to all the Dodgers, and we're also getting to all of the Brian Wu. This one, like I was getting, also has a lot of David Peterson. So you got to question, like, do you want to be playing David Peterson? You got to, wonder if you're going to be taking on that risk. Yeah, nothing else really stands out to me. It kind of makes sense. Like, you're getting a lot of Dodgers. You're getting a lot of the best cheap pitchers as well to be able to pay for those Dodgers.
All right. So let's go and check out some FanDuel lineups now, because we don't want to leave people who are playing FanDuel hanging out to dry either, because our lineup generator is going to work for both FanDuel and DraftKings while Jordan is building out our FanDuel lineups. Jordan, go contrarian here. I'm just curious to see if we still end up getting to all the Dodgers in the world. Mr. Coolcam 97 wants to know our favorite contrarian stack on FanDuel for GPP. So, Neil, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the top stacks tool to see what it is showing there, I could say for me, when I was running FanDuel lineups earlier, the contrarian stack I was getting the most of was the Seattle Mariners.
All right, I'm pulling it up.
FanDuel. What is our top stack odds saying might be the number one contrarian stack to get to for FanDuel purposes? And there's only two popular stacks today: Dodgers, Guardians, and then everybody else. Like, there's no other team even projected for, at least on DraftKings, for more than 5% ownership. On FanDuel, I think there's no other team projected for more than like 7% ownership. So if you're not playing the Dodgers or the Guardians, you're by default pretty contrarian. Anything you are seeing that you like at low ownership for FanDuel?
I mean, Texas looks good. They're the first team that has positive leverage. So they're the top in terms of top stack odds with positive leverage. 6% chance of being the top stack on the board at 4% ownership. So Texas is probably the best answer there. The Angels also look pretty damn good. They are actually the top in terms of leverage overall, coming in at 2% ownership with a 3% chance of being the top stack and a 7% chance of being the top value stack. So probably be the Angels or the Rangers for me.
Yeah, like I said, the Mariners, team I ended up getting the most to. It's a matchup for them against Jake Irvin, who is a pitcher I like to pick on. Jake Irvin has been pretty terrible for the entire year. Seattle Mariners, by the way, it's a contrarian stack I like for both DraftKings and FanDuel. This is not a team that's projected for all that much ownership. Jake Irvin, couple reasons to pick on him. First of all, 4.71 ERA, 4.93 expected ERA, low ground ball rate, only around 40%. So that's something also. You got a pitcher is giving up a lot of contact because super low strikeout rate, only a 17.4% K rate. A lot of those balls are going in the air also. That is just going to lead to home runs in the long run. So I like picking on Jake Irvin. Seattle Mariners, that's going to be my contrarian stack of the night for FanDuel. But now let's get back to the MLB lineup generator and see what the contrarian stacks here, as much as they can be contrarian, what they look like for FanDuel. And still a lot of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Michael Busch are three most rostered hitters. Hey, Fernando Tatis, we got a non-Dodgers hitter. That is one of our most rostered there.
All right.
Then Jake Sawinski, Marcus Semien. So it does look like we're getting to the Pirates as a contrarian stack on FanDuel.
Yeah, I got to at least one Pirates lineup on DraftKings using the generator, which I thought was kind of interesting. Good to see. One thing I've noticed with FanDuel in general is you're going to get your pitcher exposure a little bit more spread out. And I was talking to somebody about the Sims tool yesterday, and I think he said that he had also messaged you about it. But we were DMing about how he was saying in the Sims tool he was getting a lot of the, like, some of these pitchers that aren't the top projected, but just like have positive leverage, some of those cheaper pitchers. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But I think it was the cheaper pitchers that that allow you to pay up for bats often look better on FanDuel. And I suspect it's because the FanDuel scoring is a little bit more projectable, at least than DraftKings, because it's not as home run dependent. So then it makes more sense to pay up for bats and then cheaper pitchers, I think, is maybe the reason. I was trying to figure out why that would be exactly, but I think that's the best reason I come up with, is that sometimes it makes sense to go to cheaper pitchers that allow you to pay up for bats because of the scoring being less home run dependent on FanDuel. It's a little bit more projectable.
Yeah, so I think the main thing when it comes to FanDuel also that it shows, if you look at our top pitchers tool as well, you'll have pitchers that are 20, especially on a 15-game slate. Yeah, Jordan, pull up the top pitchers tool for FanDuel. I haven't looked at this yet, so I might end up looking like an idiot. But yeah, here we go. All right. Shohei Ohtani's projected for 25% ownership, and we have a 7% chance of him being the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. Kevin Gausman, 15% projected ownership with a 7% chance also to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. So just based on that, these pitchers are pretty overowned. And then you start to find some of these other guys who will be like, well, this guy is 2% owned with a 5% chance to be the top scoring pitcher. So when you can only roster one pitcher and the ownership is still really concentrated, one thing that I've taken away from using our Sims tool is it actually does make a good amount of sense in a lot of these slates to differentiate a pitcher on FanDuel and kind of mix and match some of these lower owned pitchers that have similar upside to the top owned pitchers on the slate, but just have a fraction of the ownership.
Yep, exactly. And it's also different scoring for the pitcher on FanDuel with the quality start score and all that stuff. So, but it is kind of interesting to see, like, there's kind of a big difference in our approach to the pitching on FanDuel versus DraftKings. S&P says, per Mike DiGiovanna of the Los Angeles Times 20 minutes ago, I'm told Max Muncy will be in the Dodgers lineup tonight. So
well, they should put out their stupid starting lineup then. So
they should. Somebody else brought up whether there's possibility that Will Smith won't be starting. I have not found whether Will Smith typically does catch for Clayton Kershaw. I think he was saying that he's not typically the catcher for Kershaw.
It's usually Austin Barnes, but Will Smith DHs a lot of those games.
Okay. Good. Because I have a lot of Will Smith. So that could be a concern.
Yeah, so it's going to for sure be a situation. By the way, we got Steve Stanton chat saying, I feel like I'm playing NBA waiting for the Dodgers lineup. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels right now, is we're waiting for this Dodgers lineup. And I would guess right now we're not going to get until after lock, because we're
pretty close. Yeah,
we've got about 10 minutes to go until lock. It isn't out yet. By the way, the longer it takes for the Dodgers lineup to come out, the less likely I think it is for Max Muncy to be playing, because teams typically know well in advance what their starting lineup is. The only reason I could think they're waiting this long is just to make sure Muncy is good to go. I wouldn't be, even though I understand that the expectation might be that he's going to be in the starting lineup, that might be the intention, but they might just get close to the game and be like, let's give him one more game. Maybe we use him as a pinch hitter today. Right.
Like they're telling this guy from the LA Times that he's going to be in it, but that's because they want him to be in it, but no guarantee just yet.
So until we get there, let's talk about what we're going to be doing with the Dodgers. And we don't know the starting lineup yet, but we do know that they're going to be number one, the most popular team on the slate. Number two, we know that they are going to be the team that projects for the highest top stack odds by a mile. So with that in mind, what are you going to be doing with the chalky Dodgers team in large field tournaments? Overweight, underweight, at the field. What are you doing with them, Neil?
I'm going to be overweight to the Dodgers. I'm eating the what I consider good chalk. Based on the top stack tool, we're expecting the Dodgers to be a little bit underowned. We don't have any of the bats, or we don't have many of the bats. As you said, you said we have 2 bats total in the Dodgers lineup that we're projecting for more than 16% ownership. So with this kind of positive leverage, it feels gross sometimes to play a super chalky stack on a slate this large. But I still think it makes sense, even if you don't want to play them as your primary stack. I think Josh was saying he's not playing any of the Dodgers as a primary stack, 5-man or 4-man stack, still getting to them as some of his most exposed players because they look so good. The individual bats, you probably want to have some in most of your lineups, at least as like a secondary stack. So I think I'm eating some of that chalk with the Dodgers. I, of course, did not use the Sims tool today. I used the lineup generator. So I'm curious to see what you ended up with using the Sims tool.
I'll have you guess here. Of my top 150 lineups, guess what percentage of them are Dodgers stacks?
I would guess 24%.
60%.
Jesus. Okay.
60%. My next most roster offense, which I alluded to before, is the Seattle Mariners, and that is at 5%.
All right. So we're both playing some Dodgers. We're eating some chalk here. We're gonna look really silly and feel really stupid if they don't do well. Like that's the thing. When you play chalk and it doesn't go well, you just feel so much worse about yourself. but I'm gonna do it anyway.
I feel about the same. By the way,
Yeah,
is this
that's true.
We've got Eddie Neves in the chat is saying that Muncy isn't even in the. No, Muncy's on FanDuel. He's 3,700. He said Muncy isn't on the FanDuel slate. He is. He's $3,700 on FanDuel. He's an option. You could get to him there. Needs to be in the starting lineup. Still waiting on that, but no, he's in there. So we've talked about the Dodgers, right? This is the team that's projected for the most ownership. There's only one other team projected for any sort of reasonable ownership today, and that's the Cleveland Guardians. We've got Cleveland projected for a little over 10% ownership on both DraftKings and FanDuel right now, Neil. And I had mentioned before what my total stack exposure is. If anybody is putting 2 and 2 together, it means I'm underweight to the field on the Guardians. But what are you going to be doing with them? The only team that's projected for significant ownership other than the Dodgers. Do you want to play them even with the field overweight or underweight? And I've kind of already tipped my hand about what I'm doing.
Looks like I am honestly pretty close to the field. I've got 15% Josh Bell, 10% Ahmed Rosario, 10% Will Brennan, 10% Jose Ramirez. So I think that I'm actually fairly close to the field overall on my Guardians, and I think I'm okay with that. I mean, what do we have the field at? Like 12%? Yeah, 11% projected ownership on the Guardians overall. That seems like that's about where I'm at as well. Not taking any kind of I think that, so if I built in my classical way using just Fantasy Cruncher, I would be underweight to the Guardians. Like my cap on Guardian exposure would be like probably like 5%, 4%. Like I would be well underweight to the Guardians. Using lineup generator, I don't have quite as much ability to build things exactly as I want, but I'm just going to trust the lineups that I get here, and I'm getting close to the field there. So yeah, you tipped your hat already. I think you said that you're getting to like 1% of the Guardians, something like that earlier.
Yeah, it was the actual number is 0.7%.
Okay, and you're going to some Singer instead, right?
Yeah, not a bunch, but in my all right. So of my top 150 lineups, less than 1% of them are Guardians, and they have 12% of Brady Singer.
That's a lot. What is he's projected for? Like what, 1% ownership? What is Brady Singer's?
He's projected for 0.5% ownership. By the way,
Yeah, so
Malakar just said that did we get that lineup? Malakar said that Muncy is out tonight. Interesting. I can't find the lineup anywhere though.
Malakar spreading fake news?
Is Malakar from the future?
Maybe he might be.
I mean, I know he's from the past. Is he from the future too?
Oh no.
Right,
we can't be making old jokes about Malakar. Those are reserved for EMAC.
Yeah, that's true. EMAC. I don't see the lineup anywhere though, Malakar. I think this might be another technology mishap for him. Maybe he looked at an old lineup
from the news god. Yeah, it could be.
No. Malakar is immune to timeouts. Malakar. Oh, no, a follow-up. He says FanDuel says Muncy will be activated. Don't use.
Okay. Sorry, it says okay.
And then he says sorry, misspelled sorry. Now, with that said, I wouldn't use FanDuel's news for anything.
No.
Wouldn't use it for anything at all. Somebody messaged me yesterday that he thought he was in first place in the tennis slate on DK, not realizing that DraftKings had just randomly said a bunch of matches were canceled, and then ended up being that they were not canceled. They actually played, and he removed them all from his lineup. So he was in first for like 10K and ended up winning like $35, and he was not thrilled about it. Moral of the story, don't use DraftKings or FanDuel for news. All indications are that Max Muncy is expected to be activated. We just don't know for sure yet. We don't know for sure.
You've upset News God. You see News God in chat saying, where are you seeing that? Don't trust FanDuel Malakar. Yeah. Don't trust FanDuel. You got to just wait for News God to give you the news.
We don't even see News God come and post all that often in the YouTube chat, but he hears us talking about news.
Yeah. He gets mad.
He knows. Yeah. He knows. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, somebody in here saying Juan Toribio. Who is Juan Toribio? Am I looking up some like porn star here? Juan Toribio.
You wouldn't know the name, Greg? Come on.
Yep, he is reporting that Max Muncy is going to be starting at third base tonight for the against the Rockies. So All right. Looks like he's going to be in. We don't have the official lineup yet, but I think it's reasonable to assume that he's going to be starting, probably batting third or fifth, starting at third base. I feel pretty good that he's going to be in at this point in time. But let's talk about some other stacks. Now, if you're not playing the Guardians, if you're not playing the Dodgers, what is the contrarian stack that stands out the most to you for tonight?
I mean, the pods look good against Rich Hill in Pittsburgh. I guess that's fine. Getting under 5% ownership with a 7% chance of being the top stack on the board. I have a little bit of interest in the pods. Already talked about on FanDuel how Texas looks pretty good. They look okay on DraftKings as well. Fairly neutral, 6% ownership, 6% chance of being the top stack overall. Trying to see if there's anybody else that stands out to me. I mean, the Twins, I'm always willing to play my Twins at, they're getting 3% ownership, 3% chance of being the top stack, but a 4% chance of being the top value stack. I have some interest in the Twins. I don't think I'm going to the Rockies against Clayton Kershaw. I mean, I know that I am not going to the Rockies against Clayton Kershaw. Maybe I would if I were playing 150 lineups. Maybe I play a handful there, but yeah, I don't really think I'm getting there. The Angels, I mentioned on FanDuel look good. They look just as good on DraftKings. 1% ownership, 3% chance of being the top stack on the board. So a little bit of interest there. Man, Detroit with a 20% chance of being the top value stack. 20% chance at 5% ownership. It's a little bit interesting for Detroit. Pittsburgh also, I said we talked about them a little bit when we were talking about FanDuel, but they're facing Reese Nair with a 15% chance of being the top value stack on the board in Pittsburgh. I have a little bit of interest in Pittsburgh there as well. So I'd say those are the top the stacks that stand out to me the most in looking at the top stacks tool. Who else do you like here?
Yeah, so I mentioned the team that I'm getting the most exposure to that is not the Dodgers is the Seattle Mariners. If I'm looking at so here's the other issue. I'm getting to such a ridiculous amount of the Los Angeles Dodgers that there's only so much space for me to stack other teams, right? This team is in 60% of my lineups. It's a 15-game slate. My second most rostered team is the Mariners. I have 5% of them. It's overweight to the field, but like very marginally. The team I'm getting the next most of is the Texas Rangers, also at 5%, but like a percentage point, like a fraction of a percentage point behind the Seattle Mariners. You mentioned the Texas Rangers before, right? They're showing up as a team that has positive leverage. If I'm not mistaken, it's the team that has the highest positive leverage that isn't the Dodgers. That's also the highest top stack. Was that what you had said before?
So I think that was talking about FanDuel, but which team are you asking me about? I just pulled it up.
The Texas Rangers. They're the team that has the highest top stack odds that's positively leveraged that isn't the Dodgers tonight.
So they actually have negative leverage on DraftKings. They had positive leverage on FanDuel, but they have slight negative leverage. 6.3% projected ownership, 5.9% chance of being the top stack, 2.8% chance of being the top value stack on DraftKings.
And are there any teams that are projected for super low ownership that you're getting? So like any 1 or 2% owned stacks do you think makes sense for this slate?
I mean, I think the Angels coming. We have the Angels projected for 1.1% ownership, 2.7% chance of being the top stack. So I do think that they're probably the top of the board for me in terms of really low ownership that I have interest in. Yeah, as far as like under 2% ownership, I would say it's them. What do you think about? So this is I am not doing this, but would you have any interest in playing the Nationals against Brian Wu? Just for like that positive leverage. We've got him with a 5% chance of being the top value stack at 1% ownership. I think you can certainly make a case there for against a young pitcher who we don't have a large sample size with. He looks great. I'm playing a ton of Brian Wu, but in my non-Brian Wu lineups, I could make a case for getting to some. I mean, I just did make the case for getting to some Washington leverage against the pitcher, low ownership, and they're cheap.
On a smaller slate, I don't think it's necessary on a 15-game slate.
Yeah, I think that's fair too.
Right. So on a 15-game slate, we have so many offenses to get to. And it's not like a 6-game slate we're getting crazy amount of level. Like he's 26% owned, right? So some ownership there, but not anything crazy massive. The problem here is that not only would you need the Nationals to do damage against Wu, like you need them to outscore every other offense on the slate.
Right. True.
So it works more for smaller slates when pitchers are, 30, 40% owned. I felt like it was going to work last night against Justin Verlander. Oh, was that tilting yesterday, though? Because Justin Verlander, bases loaded against him in the first inning with 1 out. Brewers aren't able to get any runs across. So ultimately, Verlander didn't have a great game, but the Brewers had so many run scoring opportunities. That was my go-to stack last night, and they weren't able to come through. Really quick, we got a super chat here from Brandon Wagner that I want to make sure we answer before we log off here. He is saying that he likes Boston for a single entry stack. Does that make him crazy, Neil? Or do you think Boston's decent to look at in single entry?
No, I was just looking at Boston. I mean, it is like the wind is blowing out in Boston in Fenway. Nice hitter's park. I don't hate it. You know, it's obviously not the best matchup in the world for the Red Sox, but I think they're a dangerous enough offense that I'm definitely I think that's not a crazy thing to do at all.
And then one final question from Hitman J. He wants to know thoughts on Wu and Peterson with Dodger stacks for DK Cash. Love Wu and Cash. Love Dodger stacks for DK Cash. Peterson too risky with the weather concerns, though. Right? If you want to roll the dice with Peterson large field tournaments, I am not doing that today, but I understand making that something you might want to get to in tournaments. I would not do that in Cash, though. Too risky with the weather.
I'm with you. Yep, too risky.
All right. And that is going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you're not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget, the easiest way to get 1 free month of Stochastic right now, you sign up at BetMGM using the link we have below. You're going to get the 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Also, up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet loses over there. So go check out our sponsor, BetMGM. Other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. Good luck with all your lineups tonight. See you back here tomorrow.